No! No! What do you mean no? Yes. Yes, no. Snow? Hello. H2O. Oh ho ho. Whoa. Hold on, my headphones are doing a thing. One moment. Okay. Hello. What's going on? Oh yeah, my headphones are doing a thing. Hold on. Ah, that's better. Oh man. I gotta like jiggle it around in its hole here and there to get the proper sound. Otherwise we lose some of the frequencies. What's going on, H2O? Hello Skylar, hello Kai. How's everyone doing on this fine Starlight? I guess technically it's not Starlight, but Starlight Celebration Day here. Nunya. We're doing Nunya. Anyway, I redeemed my Snow Streamer mount. I haven't tried it out yet. Let's go somewhere. We can just try it out real quick. I got Aetheryte tickets. I guess I'll save those for some big expensive teleports. Let's see. Let's see what this looks like. Snow Streamer. Ah, there it is. What do I have here that's giving me this? Oh, I got the alpaca. I never actually tried this one yet. Forgot about that. You know what? I'm gonna throw... Okay, it's time to cycle out. What am I gonna cycle out here? What do I get on this list that just... It doesn't bring me joy anymore. You know what I mean? I think I'm gonna remove the... Oh, I don't know. It's kind of funny, though. You know what I mean? It is kind of funny. Oh. I don't know. Maybe this. This one's kind of funny, though. It's kind of funny. Alright, we're gonna remove, okay, we have the 2 Goobus. We'll go with the tried and true Goobu. Let's remove one of the Goobus. We'll throw the alpaca on here for now. And then we have this. I love it. It's so funny. That's great. Yeah, this is great. I like this one quite a bit. Okay, we're gonna have to replace this. Or replace something with this. What do I get? You know what? The best way to check, let's just run through some mount roulettes and see if I feel anything. Like, oh, we always gotta have the car. The car is a must-have, right? You know, the Phoenix is kind of... It doesn't really... I didn't really feel anything when I got it. This one's funny. I mean, you know, that one's okay. This one's cool. But is it cool enough? It's pretty cool. What is this from? I don't remember what that one's from. I like the pork seat. I'm for damn sure I'm gonna use this because Sorel went to the thing. I gave money to Sorel for the thing, and this thing costs money, so it's gonna be on here. What's going on, John? Oh, this is a must-have. This one's one of the best ones in the entire game. Yeah, okay, we're oppressing. We're oppressive. Got that one again. Really testing me there, huh? The blimp is a must-have. This one's very cool. I love that one. I love the silky. Gotta have the silky. I feel like I have 2 renditions of this. What's this one? That's the one I just used that one. No, this is a different one. The gorilla is great. These are cool. You know what? We're gonna remove the horse for now. Even though I love the horse, but we'll throw this in here. Okay, now that we have that taken care of, today we're gonna have a little discussion. A very open, candid discussion about Dawntrail. If y'all want to participate, I know Kai has stuff to say, which is great. This is so I'm gonna make a video, just talking about my thoughts on Dawntrail. Nothing crazy, right? It's not, kind of like what I did in the 3 years of Final Fantasy XIV video, where I briefly touched on the expansions. Kind of maybe in a similar cadence to that, right? We'll talk about some of the stuff I like, and then some of the some critiques and whatnot. And if you guys want to participate, I would love to consolidate some thoughts from the community. I would love to hear different opinions, your experiences, etc. And then maybe you guys have some insight into some community consensus on things. It'd be interesting to hear about that. So we'll do that in a hot second. It'll be super casual, free flowing. That's insane. You're insane. You're insane. So today I did. I'll show you in a hot second. Let me do my dailies here real quick. Or my daily. I guess I have 2 dailies, or 1 daily, and then sometimes I do the other one. This is the only daily, the permanent daily. You get a 9 here. Wait, I don't want a 9. Let's go here. Yeah. I wanted it over there. Ha ha ha. What was I gonna say? This might be our best shot. So I did give me a second, I'll join if you're running something. I'm not gonna run anything at the moment, John. We're gonna chit chat for a hot second. Maybe we can wait to see if more people come in here. I did take so unfortunately I didn't get to consolidate every single, so I started consolidating some thoughts on it today, which ended up turning into some script writing for, or like, a rough draft of like some of the beginnings of what the video would be. And so I spent a lot of that time on that today. However, I started writing some just like general talking points and stuff. It'll be free flowing, so we can come up with some more as we go. Very broad topics here. Topics of discussion, so we can get started on that in a hot second. Now, Kai, it sounded like you had a lot to say, and so that was the thing I was gonna bring up. Normally, when we've had these discussions in the past, it wasn't always about MSQ, but just about other stuff. I've always just done it from here, talking to you, and people are typing it out. That being said, if you have a lot to say, it's probably difficult to type all that stuff out, right? And Kai was kind of alluding to Discord shenanigans at one point. So that could be a thing too, if people are interested in that. I don't know if we do Discord for the whole thing, or maybe I just kind of run you through some of the general points first, and then if you want to... Yeah, that's... Yeah, okay. Okay. We can do that. We can do that. I guess maybe I'll have to keep an open mic on or something. Then, unless you're gonna listen to the stream at the same time. Okay, yeah, that's something that could be more than feasible. Okay. Yeah, we'll start in a hot second here. We'll just give it like another 5-10 minutes. Maybe I'll run like a roulette or something real quick first. See if anyone else pops in. Though I'm sure more people will pop in later on. Maybe I'll do like a frontline or something. Does anyone want to do a frontline real quick? Wipe these down. What's going on, Unknown? Yeah, we're gonna have a Dawntrail discussion today. I'm gonna make a video about my thoughts on Dawntrail, but I just wanted to discuss with the stream community here, consolidate some thoughts. You'll join me. What's going on, Latios? You keep getting little Timmies. Also, at some point during the discussion, we can take a breather and we can do our marbles. I didn't forget about it. Balmung. You'll take your leave then? Yeah, no worries. Before you leave, do you want to give your opinion on Dawntrail MSQ? Just 7.0. I haven't done the patches yet, so. Maybe this time you won't get stuck on a sign, yeah. Here's the thing. Do I do... Ooh... 20... Or do I level something up? I could level something up. Or we consolidate tomes. You know what? I'll just consolidate tomes. There's always time to level later. We have some unsavory tanks on it. You want my... Yeah, honest opinions is what we're trying to have here. If you want to. We haven't started the thing yet, but if you're planning on leave, feel free to drop your stuff. You're only doing it for experience these days. It's great for experience, for sure. That is for sure. Dawntrail wasn't truly your favorite, and Walker will always be your favorite. I get that, yeah. I think MSQ-wise is the worst story ever told, even worse than ARR. Ooh. Here, I'll save these for now. We're not. Oh, let me do this frontline first, and we can get into the nitty. Yeah, and that's some of the perspectives and opinions and whatnot that I'd be curious about, right? Because it definitely seems hit or miss as far as, you know, if it resonated with you in any way. Okay, well, I guess Wuklamat's, before we even start, we're warming up the brain stems right now, right? Right, I guess, you know, Wuklamat's journey, in a way, was maybe supposed to come off as inspirational, right? Someone who is I call it the zero to hero journey, all in one expansion, right? Rising up to a power position, but I don't know if this was the expansion that was supposed to like inspire you. I view this expansion as like a building block for, like, I don't know, did A Realm Reborn inspire you? I don't think A Realm Reborn inspired me. I view this as a Realm Reborn 2.0 in a way. People that you there's a reason why you don't talk about it. People that you I talk about it say you're so that's the thing. Yeah. I showed you part of, well, this is what's going on, Volpini, by the way. Yeah, the whole I have a disclaimer. Well, it's not a disclaimer, but in part of the introduction, I'll just talk about my mindset and the goal of this, right? It's at the crux of it, it's like clearly the Dawntrail story is divisive. It's a lot more hit or miss than past expansions, it would seem. And if that's the case, like, that's okay, you know, right? Like, that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? I was definitely in the camp of, like, I thought Dawntrail was fine. Especially the second half. Like, I was really more invested in the second half of Dawntrail. The first part was kind of slow. It was, you know, they're building Tuliolao, the world and stuff and all that. But that the whole point of this is it's okay if you didn't like it, and it's okay if you liked it. Something can be, I wrote this, something can be objectively bad or subjectively bad, and it's okay if you like it, and it's okay if you didn't like it. If you do like something that's objectively bad, it doesn't make you like a bad person or anything. Likewise, if you don't like, I think critiques like this like are needed, right? For improvement. I mean, that's the core of it. We're gonna get into it. Y'all decided to start talking about this when I said we're gonna wait for some more people to talk about this, so I'm gonna do a frontline. I also think in a general, we'll talk about this more after I bash some heads here in frontlines. I think Dawntrail had very tough shoes to follow, coming, you know, the first expansion after the conclusion of a very long story arc, right? Like, I think it was already at a disadvantage before it even released. You know what I mean? What should I play here, by the way? Yeah, you missed the front line. You should have been faster, Volpini. Oh, everyone, save your thoughts. Save your thoughts. I can't concentrate on your thoughts right now. I'm about to go hit some ice. What do I need to practice? What do I need to practice? Ah, shit. Ah, shit. I'm gonna do Red Mage. I'm gonna practice Red Mage. I don't know, man. Oh, I shouldn't have done Red Mage. I effed up. I didn't want to do Red Mage. Yeah, I didn't want to do Red Mage at all. Oh shit, they're coming in. Yo, yeah, if you're someone who needs to like leave, then go ahead. You know, write out all your thoughts. Write out all your thoughts and we can consolidate those. Dude, they messed with the wrong freaking group. Dude, they just tried to invade us and they got their asses freaking handed to them, huh? Holy. Please don't kill me though. Okay, we don't have as many people here right now. We should back up just a little bit. Yeah, if you can't stick around, go ahead, write out all your thoughts. Kai's dead. We'll consolidate those just so we have them for reference, right? If you don't mind sharing your opinions and whatnot, like it's all about discussion. It's all about having open discussion. Which is okay to have, you know? Yeah, yellow really like effed with us there, huh? Oh shit. Dude, I feel like I'm popping off with Red Mage right now, but who knows? Maybe I'm doing shit. Okay, we should really focus our attention on Flames here. Okay, so Flames have this node up now, which is a bit unfortunate. Can always reference this chat again. Finish up. Let me just get my Alliance chat ready in case we need to chat with the Alliance. I'm poisoned? I was gonna pop my LB, but we weren't really in an LB popping position there, it would seem, huh? Okay, yellow is done with their node. So Flames are ahead quite a bit because they're ahead on the node spawns right now. Here comes yellow. We need to regroup here at the hot gates. Regroup up, regroup up. Yeah, Flames are just going for nodes, and it's working for them. We need to hit Flames. Focus Flames. We really need to hit Flames more than yellow here. We need to focus Flames. I don't know why we keep focusing yellow. Oh! I didn't mistime that. I couldn't do it well enough. This guy just popped all this crap. Okay, yellow keeps fighting us here, huh? We do need to focus Flames. We also need to get these nodes. I'm gonna go work on these nodes here. I think Flames are gonna win unless we start focusing them. Hopefully we built up enough battle high that we can just go ham on Flames. Flames just finished their node. They're probably heading up that way. That guy's probably gonna die. Oh yeah, Flames are coming. The Flames are coming! I don't know if that guy has. Just popping that, because why not? I've been babysitting that for the longest time. Might as well use it on something. We need to go mid. Focus flames. I'll type it one more time here. We need more people. We're missing so many people here. We really need everyone up here to come down here. Okay. It's broiling me. You really need to focus flames here. We have to do something. We can't just... We have to, like, hit them. Yellow's not making this easy by standing here, huh? We need to, like, go around their base or something. There's a lot of Bahamut's over there. The yellow's still fighting him. There's so many of them here. I'm not fighting yellow for a reason. Okay, we have to kill our node super quick, and then we go... And then we focus flames. Shit. That's a lot of them there. Sooner or later, we will need to focus flames. They finished their node. Flames should be done here soon. Okay, we're fighting yellow. It's doing the thing. Focus flames. We have anyone here to focus flames for us? Got caught in that. Got caught in that. I got polyed. Very low. I need to heal. Okay, our node is coming up. This could work out for us. We're gonna be close to a dub. They're really on flames here. Let's see what yellow decides to do. It's gonna come down to yellow. Say we take this node, we're gonna be some points behind from actually winning. We're gonna have to take some of the small nodes that pop up if they pop up, or you know they're gonna pinch us, so we have to win off kills. But I guess we just take this, huh? I guess we take this. Here comes Flames. Flames Inc. This is good for us. We can fight him in our territory here. We might be able to win off these kills. If we get enough kills. Got silenced. We just still need some more kills here. We need some more picks. We're gonna get pulled. Or we hit this node. If we hit middle node, guys, hit middle node. If middle node's gonna go down, we need to hit middle node. We'll get points off middle node. If we can get 60 points off this. Okay, we're losing it. We're getting destroyed by yellow there. There's no way we're getting 100 points off of this. That's not possible. Okay, we get small nodes. Regroup at base. Two smalls. We wipe them here. We need those two smalls. Base. Two smalls. Super close. Okay, we're gonna need some picks now. We need some kills now. Flames are here, huh? I don't know how many times I have to say focus flames. Or go to base. There was literally zero recognition for my callouts. Zero urgency at all. On a side note, we kind of popped off on Red Mage, which is nice. I mean, I felt like I played Red Mage well enough. I was feeling okay at Red Mage. Now, in CC, that's a different story. But Red Mage is definitely one of the jobs I need to practice in. So that was okay, I guess. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me hit the restroom. I'm gonna consolidate. I don't know if you want to join my party here. I'll consolidate some of the previous thoughts here. And then, we'll get going on this discussion here. By the way, how are you, Sorrel? Anyone else who's popped in since that time, welcome on in. Give me a hot second here. We'll do it. Well, on that, my chair just shrunk. On that map specifically, you can map out, you can see the pattern of, are you in a position to win this game based off the node spawns? The node spawn spawns in patterns, right? 2 at a time. For the longest time, Flames were ahead in big crystals, right? They were ultimately, due to the spawns, 200 points ahead of us, like, at all times. And they would continue to be so unless we do something different, right? Because of the way the crystal's respawning in. Which is why I kept saying we need to focus flames, especially when they're fighting at the mid crystal. That's the perfect time to fight them because they're out in the open. We kept fighting yellow, or yellow kept fighting us, one of those. But yeah. And then there are certain moments, like at the end of the game there's no point to attack the big crystal. It's not going to die fast enough before the game ends, right? You need to hit the smaller crystals and get kills. Instead, yeah, battle high is important. Battle high is important, but objectives are important too. I've seen games where teams, like even pre-made teams, right? They go around, they're getting 1 million battle high, but they lose the match because they haven't focused on. So there's a balance that you need for sure. Tired, beat up from work, long day, boss is being annoying, keeps changing his mind. I thought, how come no one's taking vacation right now? How come you're not taking vacation right now? It's like the end of the year. Primal FL is completely different. Yeah, I don't doubt it. A lot of people are just, you know, it's a roulette thing, right? So they're in there for the roulette. Though I will say, even when the people are just in there for the roulette, this was like the first time where no one was like responsive at all to any callouts. Usually, like 95% of the time, 99% of the time, maybe even if people are in there casually, if someone's making callouts, people tend to just like follow it, right? Because, oh, someone's speaking, like we might as well do that, right? That wasn't the case for this one. But yeah, battle high is very important to get. Okay, let me scroll up here and see what you guys were talking about. I can always go back and read this chat again, so on the VOD, so it's not a big deal. Let me just write down some keywords. I'm not gonna like call you guys up by name. I'm just gonna talk about, you know, some community consensus and stuff. Let me just write this on a different page. I'm just gonna write down some key phrases. None of my friend. Why type it when I can go? Right, just so I can consolidate some of these thoughts here. Whoa, where did that go? What? Oh, it's like invisible right now. Friend circles would go. Oh man, I was inspired by this story. What the hell? Where's my shit disappearing to, bro? Oh, there it is. There's a reason. Say I'm toxic or not liking it. Oh, here, let's get some Spotify music going. Yeah. I like Dawntrail. ARR. Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm tired of hold on. I'm going to copy paste this. Maybe it'll work if I copy paste it from. I don't know why this chat thing isn't letting me copy paste here. Okay, I think I get the gist of it from here. I can go back and help consolidate some of these thoughts. But I just wanted to, you know. So that, yeah. Before we begin, let me just play some I guess what should we play? Let's play a Realm Reborn music, because this, you know, in many ways this is the coming of a Realm Reborn 2.0. Or I guess technically would it be 3.0? You never know. Okay. I'm just gonna read some of these in my mind right now. Super ARR to me, yes. You like ARR better than base Dawntrail, like base Dawntrail better than ARR. Vested in the first half, but despised the second half. Yeah, that's kind of switched around from from even my own opinion, right? Stuff in living memory is done so well. Can't think of much in games that's done better. Here, I'll just write that down too. Living memory plus. Okay. Living memory minus, but cried. Okay, interesting. I'm pretty split in half. I find amongst the DT haters crowd. People were invested in the first half and the second. People are bored of book mounts. Huh? It could have been better. I have low expectations knowing it's a new story, but I'm still disappointed. I think Living Memory was kind of like a juxtaposition to Ultimate. Living Memory felt nothing. You saw the elephant out there. Okay, so it's okay. Living Memory. That seems like a topic for discussion. Living Memory versus Ultima Thule. You know what? I'll even bold this and we'll just bring it up here somewhere. That. You felt like you were talking to a computer on Living Memory. You were talking to a computer though. Technically, yes, right? Yeah, the walk was great. Yeah, I had my own thoughts. Okay, for your overview thoughts, I thought Dawntrail built on the same foundation Shadowbringers and Endwalker used. Same foundation Shadowbringers and Endwalker used. Okay, so it does seem like one of your main things was just competence in storytelling, writing, etc. Scene with book and plus mom. Namika? That was the name. We'll call it Namika. I was trying to remember the name. They've been doing Raha fans dirty since Shadowbringers. Okay, I think we're almost consolidated. Stop typing. The ice cream scene was unnecessary. Ice cream scene. We'll do minus. We got modification beam. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. What's modification? You're gonna have to explain. Okay, there's something here that's good from repeat of lessons from Wook Lamont. I mean, it's always like power of friendship, you know, understand culture, like etc. Right, that's always being repeated. But where I was good. Okay, all right, hold on. I think we're almost caught up. Are we almost caught up? I'm still inside. Dawntrail resonated. Did it because of the topic of loss? Okay. Okay, I think we're caught up here. Okay. I'll just record this for posterity just so I have a reference, even though I probably won't end up using this. You hated Wooklamont before she was ever bored. It's nothing on her or her voice actor. I just don't like Rothgars. The further away from human, the less if I have a way with it. Okay. Rothgars are not are subhuman. I'll just write it there. It's funny. Okay. So like I said, I was kind of, okay, so before we get to some of the back and forth, I just let you guys know this is kind of what I wrote. I'm gonna voice something in a similar matter here. So generally for me, when it comes to Final Fantasy 14, or just anything that like I'm consuming in general, whether it is a movie or TV, whatever, music, whatever, something new, something, especially something new, right? Something that might have a lot of discourse about it. I'm in general a very positive person, and it takes a lot. I wrote this here. It takes a lot for me to get angry or really hate something, because if I was really angry or hated something, then I wouldn't be spending my time doing the thing that is bringing me anguish. In this case, if it's an optional thing like a video game. But however, you know, we're all invested in this game. We love this game. I've been playing for 3 to 4 years. Some of you may have been playing for a longer period of time. You want to see the game improve, and we want it to be better ultimately. And the only way to do that is by having discussions like this, voicing your opinions, and being open to that sort of discussion. However, this is kind of the point I was getting to before, Unknown, when you were talking about how people were saying that you are toxic for not liking Dawntrail. When it comes to voicing our opinions, especially, you know, in an age where, you know, with one click of a button, you can voice it to 1 million people and 1 million other people can rebuttal to it. Don't let that control you. Don't let it ruin your day. Don't let it be open to differences in opinion. You don't have to let it change your opinion. Just because someone says it in one way doesn't mean it's correct or you have to believe it, unless you actually think that they're making like good comments, right? For me, when it comes to Final Fantasy 14, right? Like if I had a bucket, my suspension of disbelief bucket for Final Fantasy 14, it would be filled to the brim. I have so much suspension of disbelief when it comes to Final Fantasy 14. Why? Because my mindset is, because I love this game and I've been playing this game so much, my mindset when I'm playing this game, when I'm going into something, is I'm going to have a good time and I'm going to have fun. That's initially my first mindset when I'm going into something, right? Because this game has had a lot of, like, you know, weird, questionable, from a technical to a storytelling perspective, but there's just a lot of like shenanigans that pop up. And then, you know what, for me, it's like, whatever, like, sure, cool, I'm here for a good time. I would just want to have a good time. But that being said, you know, 100% open to constructive discourse and opinions, because I think it's a healthy way to approach something like this. If something is shit, like if something is shitty, then yeah, it's fine. Call it shitty. Call it for what it is. That's okay, right? Because on the other end of the spectrum, if something is objectively bad, it's okay if you still like it. It does not make you a bad person, right? That's fine. It's fine to like something. If something can be objectively bad, and it's okay if you still enjoy that thing. And I have an example here that I will talk about in the movie, but I'll give it to you here. For example, The Rock is objectively a bad actor, but there are so many times where I just want to watch a Rock movie because it's fun as hell, right? You know what I mean? So the whole point of this is do not let the opinions of others. If someone is saying you're toxic because you don't like something, it's just not someone you want to have a conversation with, right? They're not open-minded to any discussion. Right? You know what I mean? The whole goal of this is just to have an open discussion, and whatnot. So, any thoughts on that first? And then I just wanted to run through one more thing before, and then we can get into the Discord and stuff, and we can start talking about some things. So Kryl, okay, well, I'm gonna write this down here. You know, we'll write this down here too. Kryl, I wanted that is a good point to bring up. I personally also I wanted more Kryl. And we didn't get more Kryl, which we didn't get until the end of the expansion. I thought this was going to be and who knows, maybe something changes in the patches too. And we did get some good stuff with Kryl. I thought Kryl was going to be a lot more involved in this, TBH. Dwayne Johnson, yes, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. If it's a positive person I can vouch when we work together, I'd be all, wow, we are screwed over something we did at work, and he'd always be, nah, it's fine. People also use the word toxic. I'm a toxic pollinator. Well, because here's the thing, right? In that work scenario, it's like, at the end of the day, you know, the products that we're making, they're not life-changing, even though they claim they're life-changing. It's not critical to someone's health, etc. It's not a big deal. It's the same thing. This is a video game, right? And video games are supposed to be fun, and they're meant to be fun. If you're not having fun with the video game, it's totally fine to want more from it, and to also just, like, you could stop playing. Which is why I went into the whole, like, I understand why you wouldn't just stop playing, right? Because of the time investment that you spent, and also just wanting to see the game improve, right? But ultimately, if you're not having fun with something you don't like, and it continues to be something you don't like, you don't have to force yourself to, for something like this, it's a video game, you don't have to force yourself to stay in this world, right? That's it. That's ultimately what I'm alluding to, the work thing. It's just work. This is just a video game. It's not a big deal. It's not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things, but it's something that we're invested in and we want to see be better. That's why we're talking about this. We wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be streaming this if I didn't have a love for this game and want to see it. I was reading and talking. I wrote this earlier today. Nuance is hard to promote in the age of clickbait. If your statement doesn't produce a visceral gut reaction, no one cares, so we're rewarded for extremes. Well, yeah, so that's like like, you know, it's not even just for, like, yeah, it's for, like, your world news, right? It's a thing in your worldly news. But I can't really see the chat here, so I'm gonna do this. Now I can see the chat, at least on that part of the screen. Right? Why is the news so negative? It's because that's what gets the clicks. You know what I mean? It sucks, but that's just kind of the truth, right? It's all about that clickbait and whatnot. I'm not one that usually has criticism while I'm playing. It's mainly after I complete it that I start deep. Yeah. A little louder for the people in the back. We'll get to Valley Garmonda in a section here. That makes no sense. I absolutely have to force myself to be here. I have a medium house plot in ether. Let go of your worldly possessions. Let go of your worldly tethers, and you will free your mind. Internet went out, trying to reset things real fast. No worries, Kai. Okay, before we get into the thing, the next section I wrote, because this is something that was also partly a disclaimer, was talking about the Wuklomon in the room. Now, I'm not saying anyone here is doing this, but I know it exists because I saw it before I even started playing the game. I saw it all over on Twitter, saw it all over the internet, right? So in general, what did I write here? So even back when Wuklomon was introduced in 6.55, right? And I will say this in the video because I want to turn away people who, like, if someone gets angered by this statement, then yeah, that's the type of person I want them to leave an angry comment and then click off the video. So if your vitriol of Dawntrail or Wuklomon stems from not the character, but the life choices of the person behind the character, that this conversation is not for you. If you're someone who is bothered by the way another adult has chosen to live their life, another adult who is not hurting you or impacting your life in any way, then I think you need to reprioritize where your effort and energy is spent. That being said, if you're somebody who just didn't like the acting performance, the writing, or the way the character was used in Dawntrail's MSQ, then yeah, we can have a discussion about that. Clickbaiting? I'm not clickbaiting anything. I'm literally going to say this in the video. I'm telling people right now, if you're coming to this video to talk about woke Lamont stuff, I'm not going to be talking about that. Right? Like that's the thing. So that was kind of like one of the general other things I was going to mention prior. And then I probably would end up talking about Wuklomon a little bit, because Wuklomon is from a voice acting standpoint, not even just a character. I'm just talking about the voice acting standpoint right now. I wrote some discussion about that. You adore the voice for Wook. You'd be pissed at this point if she was changed. Her voice acting was so sweet and cheerful. You can't say anything negative on that on GG Discord. That's how bad it is for you. So here okay. Let me give you my thoughts on Wook Lamont, character and voice. Right. Overall, as a character, I thought Wook Lamont was like fine. Right. It wasn't like someone who I was like super like excited about. Neither was it someone that like I hated. They were definitely going for that, and the whole arc, that whole beginning arc was like shonen protagonist, power, friendship sort of vibe, which, you know, is a constant thing in Final Fantasy XIV. The character is supposed to come off as someone who has grand dreams, but is very inexperienced and naive about the world, right? And I think the VA did fine in that regard. I think he came off fine, right? Is it the best performance in Final Fantasy XIV? No. Is it the worst? No. But I will say, when I think of poor voice performances in 14, I'm often thinking about like ARR voices, right? Which probably isn't the best comparison because that was so long ago, right? This is Dawntrail. This is the 5th expansion. Yeah, I think there's a bar that should be met. And if that's one of your critiques, right, for a character that is so prominent, that has so much dialogue in this game, if your critique is that for a character that prominent, the voice acting was bad or just fine, like that's not acceptable, right? Which I get, right? Right, there should be high quality for this 5th expansion. I think that's a good point if you're thinking that. But I do recognize that clearly there was some sort of discrepancy in the production of the Dawntrail voices, right? Evident by one, the technical quality, the actual like technical audio quality of Y'shtola's voice, and then some of the emotion and urgency that we didn't get in certain moments. I'm thinking about the moment with Wook Lamont and Sphene. By the time I played at the end, the Sphene no thing, whatever. By the time I played that, they had already patched it and they fixed it. But you guys gave me the link to the original version, and yeah, it's very lackluster, right? In comparison, right? There's clearly something off there. There's no hiding that. Something was weird there, right? But I thought that the re-recording was great. I thought it's Senna, right? Senna is how you pronounce the name. Yeah, I thought Senna did. If that is, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody. Yeah, I thought the re-recording was fine. So yeah, I think there was clearly something funky was going on there, right? I did go check out some of the other language. Or the actors in other languages. Yo, you guys got to check out the German. I'll probably show a clip of this in the video when I do it because I thought it was really cool. Go check out the German VA for Wook Lamont during the Zeralja Gululjaja fight scene. Yo, the German VA went freaking ham there. The German VA went freaking off on that moment. It was so epic. I did have this little section where I was going to talk about some specific critiques that I heard back in 6.55 about how the voice didn't sound feminine enough, and then I was going to talk about the Lion King and how, but I don't know if I probably won't include. And then yeah, so discrepancy in the production of the Dawntrail voices, the direction, the writing itself, right? Like off the top of my head, the game does this quite a bit, but I remember them shoehorning in the hear, feel, think mantra into the dialogue multiple times. Like they did it in 6.55, and they did it like, you know, a couple other times in early Dawntrail, which, you know, it definitely felt forced in that moment. It's campy, but I think we kind of like the game for the campiness sometimes here and there. Anyway, so those are kind of like the general disclaimers and kind of general thoughts on Wook Lamont before diving into a lot of the actual discourse that we hopefully will be having here in a hot second. So. Every single person that I've done the normal with over and over again for the triple trio card all notes how much better they made Wook lines there sound better, which they had no clue it changed. Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely agree that it's a night and day difference, which, you know, yeah, I think in that moment it showed like, yeah, the voice for Wook Lamont could definitely, it has range, like, you know, Senna has range and can do that. It just it makes me think that something was off with the direction in that. I adore the voice for Wook. I'd be pissed at this point if she was ever changed. Her voicing was so sweet and cheerful. But yeah, I thought Wook Lamont did a great job, especially in all of like the goofy kind of scenes. I think that's where the VA actually like really. And you know, we got some of the more emotional, powerful moments a little bit more sparingly here and there. And as far as the re-recordings go, at least for that one scene, it was fine. The scene with her and Golol Jaja, I thought that was great as well. Like I had no complaints there. You know? Her biggest issue was the directing for her let her down horribly, which I think was an issue through the entire expansion. Yeah, there was definitely something funky going on there, right? Yeah. I mean, again, just alluding to the fact that they did not catch, or they caught it and were aware of it, but just couldn't change it. Y'shtola's lines, right? Just the technical quality of it, right? It was just really off. And you would think that's just something that someone would listen to and be like, hey, this is weird. But clearly there was some sort of limitation in the production process there that they couldn't redo it at that time. A common complaint I hear a lot is how the accents are weird or make no sense, but as someone who lives in LA, I think they're insane. If their aim was representing South American accents, they did. Yeah, we can include that too. People, I've seen some complaints. People complain about the Lukumot accent. But as someone who lives in LA, I think I'm gonna quote you on this. Oh, I'm not gonna quote you, but maybe I'll bring that up. Accents, they did. Yeah, well, I'm excited to see what's going on in 7.1 at some point. You know, welcome back, Kai. By the way, you didn't miss much, Kai. I was just going through some of the stuff I had written prior. I'll be a disclaimer on the approach, or on how I approach Final Fantasy XIV and topics like this, and then my disclaimer about Wook Lamont, the voice and the person behind the voice. What's going on, Squirrel? You liked all the Mamulja VAs? That's good. Yeah. Okay, so that's basically what I really was focused on writing earlier today. Now I have some general just talking points. I guess this could also be part of a disclaimer. If we want, if you guys want to, if some of you want to, I will hop into this channel here. I gotta figure out how to give myself an open mic. Voice activity. Testing, hello, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Okay. I have an open mic, so I'll be...
Yep.
Got most of it on mobile. Cool. What, internet problems, you said? Power problems?
Yeah, it dipped out for a second. My ISP usually does their maintenance around midnight-ish EST, so...
No. Okay. Let's hop into it. I guess I was talking about this a little bit earlier. So before I feel like Dawntrail was off to a bad start before it even started because of the fact that it is following in the footsteps of Shadowbringers and Endwalker, which are not only some of the more beloved expansions of the player bases, I feel like, but it's also the conclusion of how long has it been since ARR, Kai?
Since ARR, about close to 12 years. As a bit of my credentials, I have been playing this game since November-ish of 2010 in the 1.0 beta. So I have been with this game a long time.
Yeah.
So it was about 2 years after that point. I think it was around 2012 is when ARR hit.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it was not only off the backs of some of the more beloved expansions for this game, but also expansions that concluded this long ass story, the pivotal peak of a culminating arc, right? an arc where we fight off the epitome of despair, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, where the hell do we go from there? I think Dawntrail was already, like, it's a tough act to follow, you know? However, I viewed Dawntrail with a very open mind, and I kind of viewed it, and people have been alluding to it, as like an ARR 2.0. The setup to the next grand arc. Now, I don't think, again, if I were someone who really hated Dawntrail, yeah, I wouldn't use that as an excuse to like, oh, this is just setting up something in the future. It's like, well, what about the present? The present still needs to be like good. We're paying for this, right? However, I didn't hate it. But if someone feels that way, like, I totally understand that. Just because, in my opinion, that they're setting, this is a setup for the future, it doesn't mean that the present has to be shit. But ultimately, that was my mind state heading into it. I want to see how it sets things up and work.
So there is a small point I can actually bring in right there about like some of the things I was wanting to talk about is expectations, right? I mentioned that to you, perspective and expectations.
Yeah.
So, Kev, I will pose this question to you. You have a character in a story. Remove yourself from this being a 14 discussion. You have a character in a story who has been beloved and has been ongoing for a long time. And they have been getting stronger and stronger and stronger the entire journey. But it finally reaches a point where they have surpassed everything. And the story doesn't make a lot of sense to continue on in that point when there's no real threat to them. What do you do with that character?
Okay, well, the first thing you're alluding to is kind of like a power scaling issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to speak. That's like kind of the crux of it. Like, where do we go from here, right?
Yep.
So I think I know where this is going. I think there's multiple routes that, you know, one could take, right? Introduce the next big bad, and it's just a continuous cycle, right? But
yeah, and then you got the DBZ issue.
Yeah, okay, we'll call it, I think Jesse Cox. I watched a Jesse Cox video. DBZ issue.
Yeah, so as another disclaimer, a lot of the stuff that I'll talk about is going to sound very similar to him, but it's just because he and I have a lot of very similar opinions on this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think what you're alluding to, where do we go next? Was it going to be a mentorship role? Like, now we teach someone? Is that what you're going to say?
Well, you basically only have a few options, right? The first one being you kill the character off. Like, we're not talking about, like, I'm taking this a little bit outside of the scope of MMOs, but, you know, you kill the character off just because there's nothing more for that character to do. I'll back my mic off a little bit for you.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I was probably choked up on it a little too much.
No, I'm going to increase your volume
now. Whenever it comes to another one is taking power away, right? So let's talk about this one in an MMO perspective. If you were going to do that in certain ways, like you could have leveled us back down to 1 and had to start the journey over because we've lost the power of Heidelin by the end. It could have been their, you know, way of doing it. But that runs into a lot of issues, and one I will bring up is World of Warcraft. So I forget if it was Warlords of Draenor or Legion. It was one of those expansions in that era where everybody got an artifact weapon. So this weapon grew with you in power as you logged in every day and did things to power it up. By the time that the end of the expansion happened, these weapons were completely, well, kind of broken in a way. They defined your build. You had no other weapons. But by the end of the expansion, they had to go, so we don't really know what to do with those. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a quest because we need to take all of those back to make sure the world doesn't end. Paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly how the expansion ended, but it was something like that. You spend all this time and energy building something up only to have it taken away at the end and start over again from scratch. So it's taking power back away from the player. Yeah,
but that also, I mean, as far as like a game goes, right? You're taking away people's, you're taking away people's time and their progress and everything that they've worked towards.
And
to this moment.
We do that to ourselves more than enough with a loot treadmill every patch cycle. So we don't need to cover that one. But I think the third one is kind of what we landed on, in my opinion, is we did go into that mentorship, but more than that, it's you take the main character and you make them a secondary character. And we were that secondary character through the entirety of Dawntrail. Now, they managed to do it in a way where they didn't make us feel weaker. You could still tell that through the entire journey that we were unmatched.
Yeah.
Is really the only way I can say it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would have caught it, because I know you always have your character wearing sunglasses, but there was a particular expression that they use repeatedly through Dawntrail, where your character's eyes kind of like slightly relax and close. And people have a lot of different takes on what it is, but I always kind of looked at it as like at the eyes of a predator.
Oh yeah.
If you ever wanted to go back and take a good look at it, the kidnapping scene of Wuklamont when you recover her, you give that look to his minions, and that's when they're like, "Don't mess with that one," or "This one is dangerous." I believe that Bakul Jaja says. So they managed to, personality-wise, and the way we carry ourselves, we show that we're not afraid of everything. This stuff is beneath us, but it's not our journey. And a lot of people will have, problems with that, because we have been the main character for 14 years, basically.
Yeah.
This entire story has revolved solely around us, and then we're moving into like a secondary role.
Yeah, that's one of the by the way, John, you're in here too. Feel free you can interject at any moment in time. But that is one of the notes that I made surrounding Wuklamont here, as one of people's complaints about the expansion is the Warrior of Light taking a supporting role, and Wuklamont front and center, which, from a storytelling perspective is fine. Like, if they do it well enough. From a gameplay perspective, I mean, again, this is a game, so people, I could totally see why people are or can be upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
There is another scene in the fight with the Dawn Servant when you're doing the whole like sparring match. At the end of that fight, if you're a tank, he will go, "I'm happy that my daughter has such a sturdy shield." If you're healers, like, "I'm happy that my daughter has a healer to protect her." And if you're DPS, he will go, "Thank you for not killing the other opponents, the other contestants," because he knows you can kill any one of them at any time. And then there's the scene in at the end at Everkeep when you're like, after they're attacking, you just look at Speen, goes like, "Okay, well, I'm just going to wipe your entire army out. Now, move over." I mean, that's one of the lines. It's like, "I hope you don't mind if I obliterate your army."
Mm-hmm. And the same sentiment was reflected in the quest in Shaoloni as well. Whenever it was directed at you, I believe it was by Aaronville, of "Please don't kill them." Like,
yes.
He knows what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And I didn't really take it as like a funny moment. I mean, I thought it was a genuine, you know what you can do, please hold back. And that has been, the majority of the story was, please hold back. And given we didn't have a reason to let loose.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was it was very evident throughout the entire story. There are many instances of that where it's clear that we can step in and do something. But again, that's like people's problem, right? It's like, well, we didn't get to do anything, right?
Yeah.
But it's tough though, because it's like it's kind of like similar to all the scenes where it's like, hey, something bad's about to happen. It'd be a shame if our Warrior of Light only watched and didn't do anything, which there are so many instances where if, maybe our Warrior of Light did something, but then it's like, okay, where does the story go next? We ended this. Exactly. We can't advance the plot anymore because we saved the day already. You know what I mean?
If we lived up to our legend, there would be no story. Like, we would stop everything before it started. We are the nuclear option.
We are, as of right now, what we know, we are literally the strongest being on the planet.
Yeah. And that is not to say that another thing to put alongside that is the Scions of the Seventh Dawn are the strongest people in the world behind us. Mm-hmm. They have went on this entire journey with us, which I guess I'm going to bring up another point that is a thing on perspective. And I've heard this from friends, and I've heard this on the internet as well, of you go through a dungeon, and then at the end of the dungeon, everybody shows up, and then the general, like, public response seems to be, but they didn't do anything, right?
Yeah, even though technically
ever since Shadowbringers, like, it's always meant, I believe at that point, whenever you got your first dungeon, that trusts were like the canon way that you went through these dungeons. Your allies were always next to you. So if you were queuing in with other people, you missed out on a lot of small nuances and things, but they ended up doing better over time of showing your allies also in the dungeons. The Tower of Zot was a good one from the beginning of Endwalker, of showing them in there doing other things. Before the trust system, the first dungeon that they did well in that was the last dungeon in Stormblood, whenever everybody was showing up for that big battle with Garlemald.
Yeah, I never had that problem because, you know, even from the beginning, it's like, okay, well, clearly, like, you know, for story purposes, we were meant to be doing this with these characters, but it's an MMO, so we have to play with other people. Exactly. I never had a problem delineating between those two.
I think doing dungeons, you're fine doing it with other people. Trials, like Valigramonda, Everkeep, the what's the Mother Crystal that the Heidelin fight?
Yeah.
In Endwalker. Those are the ones that I'm like, okay, I can see that if I do not do these with the Scions or whoever's there, like, I'm going to be missing out on something. And for Everkeep, I am really happy that I did that fight because it's got some really good Wooklamont stuff in it.
It does. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just the perspective of people, because if you go into it with 3 friends, it's very easy to say, well, why are they here now? I did all the work. And it's just a problem. I think it's a scale problem with an MMO. Because in this game, Ul'dah is meant to be a giant city. And we only ever see a few NPCs or a few people wandering around. It makes it feel much smaller. Solution 9 is supposed to be giant. There's supposed to be, you know, thousands and thousands of people in there, but, you know, where there might be 20 NPCs or something at any one given time. It makes the game feel much smaller, but you have to keep in the back of your mind that you're only seeing a small part of the area you're in. And it's the same thing with these dungeons. A lot of them are probably much larger scale in, not in practice, but I'm losing the word for it. But what it's meant to be. It's meant to be this much bigger deal.
Remind me again of how we got to the topic of using dungeons as an example. What was the
perspective of people thinking that the NPCs that are with you did nothing to the story, which is a common complaint of Wooklamont. That it was Wooklamot's journey, but Wooklamont did nothing.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, I might have missed the point on the initial intro to that, but it is an issue going on, is that people take credit away from the NPCs that are supposed to be with the Warrior of Light based on the way they play the game. It's a perspective thing, because they don't see them with the party regardless if they're queuing in with other people, like fighting something off to the side or whatever. They're not going to think they're doing anything.
They kind of wrote themselves into a bit of a problem, because the whole reason why you, in story-wise, why you have the other, you know, the other players come with you is because if you're fighting the primals, anybody who doesn't have the echo will get tempered, so you have to have your other adventure friend.
Yeah.
And they have basically done away with the entire in-world reason why you have to have the adventurers and not the NPCs. And they've never come up with a new reason of like, well, here's why you should have your adventurer friends, because if the Scions or whoever go in and do this, something's going to happen to them.
Yeah. But even further beyond that, even then the point was always shaky to begin with, because what are the chances that all of these other adventurers that you're bringing in also have the echo to protect them?
Yeah.
Given that became a lot less of a shaky thing once we got into Shadowbringers and we started using Azim's Crystal to bring allies to our sides. Because then it's other Warriors of Light across the shards, or other parts of us, whichever way they want to explore or explain it.
Other shards of your soul or whatever.
Yeah. So it becomes a much different aspect at that point because you're actually summoning the other Warriors of Light or the other Shards of Azim or however they explain it in the end, which I'm sure we're going to get something else with Azim's Crystal along the line.
I mean, a game this long that has this long of a story and has been going this long, you're going to write yourself into problems. That's just that. There's no way around.
And they've gone back and changed things.
So I have I have a point written down here before I started the stream that kind of was talking about Wuklamot's journey in this expansion, which I feel is kind of adjacent to what you were talking about, taking credit away from NPCs because of a player's own agency, etc. What I have written down here was like this, this was like a 0 to hero journey in one expansion. The pacing of it felt a little off, right? Because we go from the beginning, right? She's getting her ass kicked by Bakul Jaja to the end, taking down Bakul Jaja, whatever, taking down Sphene, etc. Which I feel like, and I could totally see the perspective of why it would seem so fast, right? But what I wrote down here is like, okay, what we did do, like we fought Valley Garmonda. She was with us for all of these fights, so in a way, that's kind of adjacent to, the impact that an NPC has, or their journey, their level up process, even though maybe we don't necessarily see it at the forefront because we are the player and, we're doing the Valley Garmonda trial with other players, etc. That was just another kind of topic I had. Like what I had an example here. Like it would have been kind of cool to see like more scenes. Like we've had like heart-to-heart discussions with Wuklamot. But it would have been cool if I think it would have been cool if we had some scenes where we were like, physically like maybe training Wuklamot in some way, in some sense. Kind of like in Lord of the Rings, right? Where Boromir is training the hobbits. So it's not like over what's supposed to be like a long journey, right? So it's not like a super surprise that they're, kicking orc ass, by the Mines of Moria, etc. So.
Well, go ahead.
No, after you.
I have a couple of. The one thing that about Wuklamot and her like progression in power, I guess you would call it, is one thing I really did like, but I wish there had been a way to actually like physically remove our character from this scene. Is when she's fighting Bakul Jaja when you do the solo duty in a.
In that burnt down
in Yoctel
forest.
There's a point where she's like. I can't exactly remember how it goes. Did she say something to the Warrior of Light like "Do not interfere, no matter what" or whatever? It felt very much like a Goku Gohan moment when he's trying to get Gohan to go Super Saiyan, and he fires the Kamehameha at him, and Gohan's like, "I have nowhere to go. I am screwed. I have to do this, or I'm going to die." And that's kind of how I feel like Wuklamot. That scene was supposed to feel, but because. Like, we're just sitting back there on a stump watching, and if something went really bad, we could step in. Now, if there had been something holding, like, physically keeping us from moving, it could have felt a little more like, okay, this is actually, it's us, it's Wuklamot on her own with no one coming to her rescue. She has to beat him. And that's how she figures out how much stronger she actually really is. And I really like that scene, but it did feel a little bit like, oh, we're just standing back there waiting. If something goes wrong, we could flip him like a booger.
Yeah, Skylar has a comment there that Bakul Jaja. Also, I did want to take some moment to recognize some of the comments here too in a second. But Bakul Jaja specifically kept us out of that fight because there was a hostage situation. Was this the one where we actually played as Wuklamot? I'm trying to remember.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, it was her dad. I remember that. It was her like biological father.
Yeah. That
yes,
could be.
Okay.
Yeah. That I want to talk about that scene. Well, not here. I already have my own thoughts on that.
Well, that's one of those things that I think that is highly dependent on perspective, because like I never really read it as it's a life and death moment for Wuklamot in this. I more read it as she was ready, because the journey being hers, and this is standing up to the bully, right? That's what this is, with the stake being her parent on the line. And it was just a matter of her getting pushed back, and she says stay out of it, so she would hit her limit break.
Yeah.
Even the theme of that fight was use that limit break every single time it comes up, so you're pushing harder and harder. It's her breaking that limit, really tapping into everything that she does have to fight, because she has something important on the line.
I'd have to go back and review my footage because it's been a minute. But I think I'm kind of in agreement with Kai there, because I do remember distinctly in the story, Wuklamot did go from a very uncertain, like, you know, looking up to us for advice sort of point of view. And at some point in the story that shifted to, yes, I'm going to do this. I can do this now. Like that confidence built up over that period of time. And I feel like, yeah, right around there was probably one of those big turning points for her leading up to that.
Yeah, that's the other point I was going to make. I knew there was something else and I forgot about it. The pacing of Dawntrail as a whole, and to me, this feels very. Dawntrail felt like it had the pacing of Patches. Like, you could see where 7.1 would end. You could see where 7.2 would end. It felt to me like it very much like, okay, this is. It felt very paced like the Patches are. Like there are defined moments, and then you get halfway through, you have the shift to what would be the lead into the next expansion. The story completely changes, and I mean that is all the time I was playing through. I was like, this just feels like it is paced exactly like the Patches are.
I don't know if I felt that. I don't know if I ever felt that it paced like the Patches, but I do concur that there were some, like, I have a thing about Zeralja here. Like, there's definitely some pacing issues when it comes to certain characters or story arcs. I think Zeralja was one of, like, a prime example of that, of how, you know, he goes from, like, stoic kind of a dick maybe, but has some redeeming qualities, and maybe has some pressure to full on, you know, murdering Psycho, which happens in like a 30-year time skip that we don't get to see.
Yeah.
But that could we can talk about Zeralja a bit later too, as we need to.
Yeah.
Well, with the Wuklamot getting stronger thing, like up to that point, like it's kind of hard, in my opinion, to keep like on track with watching it happen as you go. But I think it's mostly because a lot of her weaknesses were played for comedy, with being afraid of alpacas, being seasick, being afraid of heights. The entire thing is her overcoming fears from the get-go, even if they are played as a comedy bit.
Yeah, I think Wuklamot, in hindsight, could be a character who did have, like, you know, did have the physical power, the ability to be on this level, but just didn't have the experience or mental state to actualize it. That's I think that's probably what they were going for, in my opinion. Because I think the whole thing was her leveling up via gaining experience, via experiencing the world and, you know, learning its perspectives and everything. So, and I guess in that sense, maybe the whole power scaling of Wuklamot makes a bit more sense in my eyes if I think about it, or in my mind if I think about it that way.
Yeah, I don't think that her overall strength level increased that much from the beginning to end. It's more how she was using it. Yeah. Like, she was suddenly traveling with one of the most seasoned combatants on Aetheris.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me write that as a note.
And I think like she kind of also saw her not just physical weakness, but like the stuff she lacked as like a would-be leader as she went through, like, well, I can't do the stuff that what's brother's name?
Zeralja.
No, other one.
Oh, Kona.
Catboy, yeah, Kona. Like I
Sorrel
can't do a
2.0.
lot of the stuff, but I think that's kind of why at the end she was like, well, we're going to be co-dawn servants because like I've got the power side of it, you've got the mind side. We need to be together. And I don't think Wuklamot at the beginning of her journey would have done that.
No, like her entire thing from the beginning was, I've got this. I'm going to be the new Dawn servant. But it took the journey for her to admit her own weaknesses and say, wait, this would work much better if we were together. Learning from, I mean, there is the obviously comparison between the two heads of Gulul Jaja. But I think it was I think that part was well written. I liked that conclusion of it not just being, okay, we got Wuklamot through the story and she is a new Dawn servant and good job. But it was, she recognized her shortcomings as a direct result of not really, well, I think, and this is kind of it depends on your outlook thing, but I think that she kind of had a princess in a tower outlook from the beginning of the story. She wanted to do the right thing, she was strong, she was adventurous, but she hadn't been out in the world to the point of seeing true hardships. And I'm not saying that Tyrell is a place where, you know, you get your classic princess in a tower in the dress, you know, Rapunzel, let down your hair, blah, blah. But I don't think that she ever had the life experience of seeing everything. And that was a big point of going through the story, was understanding these peoples.
Yeah.
She wanted to be the Dawn servant she always saw her father being, but she,
without understanding why.
Without seeing the other side of the stuff that he might have had to do that she didn't see. Like,
yeah, I think,
you know, the peace-loving guy, but you also have to have the power and the mind, and there's so much more than just, oh, I love peace, I'm going to keep Tyrell peaceful. That's, you can love peace all you want, but you have to have a lot of other stuff to keep it peaceful that she didn't have.
Yeah, no, I think that was the whole, I mean, that was literally the rite of succession, right? Like, we're learning about these cultures, and in the same vein, everything that we're learning, like, Wuklamot's picking up something new too as well, right? Like, she's lived there, she's lived on Tuliolao, like, her whole life, but she clearly doesn't know much about these cultures. Actually, even similarly with some of his other children, it would seem too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that was kind of like the whole point of the rite of succession for her. So I did also want to, because Suna Unknown here, I call them Unknown, was making some points about Wuklamot. But this first started when we were talking about how Wuklamot kind of took front and center of the story while we played a supporting role. And Unknown here said, yeah, it's kind of a risk, but to make it work, people need to like Wuklamot, and the results have been mixed at the best, which poses the question, why don't people like Wuklamot? And Unknown has commented further later on in the discussion about, you know, some of, like, we were talking about some of Wuklamot's, like, goofy bits, like the seasickness and the motion sickness, things like that, those little quirks. Like, perhaps that's one of the reasons why people don't like Wuklamot. So that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to talk about in a broad sense. Why don't people like Wuklamot? We take away the voice behind the character, just the character itself, all the quirks that come with it. Aside, you know, taking the limelight from our Warrior of Light, just Wuklamot as the character.
Well, for me, there was a time when I was kind of back and forth on Wuklamot. And a lot of people compare this expansion to A Realm Reborn, and it is true that it is kind of like A Realm Reborn in the building aspect, but I compare it more to Stormblood.
Yes,
just because there's a more direct, a parallel with Elise. And I like Stormblood, but I always found Lisa's part in the story a little forced. I don't think the writing was quite there, like they could have done it a little better. And it's not because Lise was taking the spotlight, but I think some people will make that correlation as well. It felt more like Stormblood without having the threat to us. Because we had Xenos, like, always as this insurmountable target. But in this, we're just kind of along for the ride. We're watching Wuklamot go through kind of a combination of our story and Lisa's story from Stormblood in a much more condensed version.
And with Lise, at least with Lise, we had a whole, you know, like A Realm Reborn, Ida, like some connection, backstory, etc.
Yeah. And we didn't have, and a lot of the things that people are not going to like in Dawntrail is just because it does not have a literal decade of writing behind it, of world building.
Yeah.
Like everything, the Heidelin Zodiac story from start to finish, like you always had a extremely strong foundation. And the only thing we're really bringing forward are the characters. But, you know, that's kind of out of the scope of what we're talking about.
I never compared her to Lise. That's actually something I compared her to Alphino.
So I was going to bring that up when we were talking about the young, naive Wouklamont. Maybe that's, you know, one of the reasons why people dislike Wouklamont. I was going to say, and you were there during the heyday of it. I only learned about it after, about the hatred that people had from Alphanode, another young, pompous character who had grand ambitions but not the experience to back it up. Also, the Sam Riegel voice.
We got to see. I love Sam Riegel's voice. He's actually the one actor I wish had.
I talked about this in my 3 years of Final Fantasy video, where I feel like a lot of people disliked Alphanode because he came across as pompous, and he came across as pompous because of Sam Riegel, because that's just how Sam Riegel sounds.
And Alphanode was pompous. I mean, he was like, well, how old is he? 16?
I stopped wondering about their ages a long time ago.
I'm going to.
It's 17-ish.
Ish, yeah.
Because I think time in this game is weird.
I think maybe that's another thing why we got to see Wouklamont going from Alphino and ARR to Alphino now in one expansion. We got to see Alphino going from Alphino and ARR to Alphino now in what, 6, 5? We got to see the full growth of Alphino over years, and we got to see Wouklamont do that in like one expansion, and it feels very rushed from where she started to where she is now.
Well, my only counterpoint to that is Wouklamot's older, so I believe that she, while there is a chance that she could have been more set in her ways, in a sense, she wouldn't have been as. And I know this is a far-fetched statement that's about to come out of my mouth, but she wasn't nearly as starry-eyed dreamer as Alphino.
What's going on, Nawel? Hi, Horn. We're just talking about Dawntrail right now.
Starry-eyed dreamer.
You can hop in the Discord if you want, Nawel.
But Alphino definitely
to talk
had
if you
that
have something to share.
Of, like, I am doing the right thing, and this is going to work. Like, the Crystal Braves.
Oh, the Crystal Braves were so good. They were so bad, but they were so good. It's one of my favorite arcs of this entire game is when they turn on everyone, and Alphino's like, I'm completely screwed up. Okay, I need to actually back off myself and get some experience and quit trying to do too much. And it worked. Because he is like, in my opinion, he's like the de facto leader of the Suns. Yeah, at this point.
Yeah. I just also wanted, while we're on the topic of, also I think Nawel's gonna be hopping in here. Also, Unknown, hello, what's going on, Nawel? I have an open mic, by the way, so be wary of that. Unknown, talking about Dawntrail frustrates you. Well, I hope you know that you are safe to have discussions like this here in this channel. Like, so you don't have to shy away from that. Thank you for sharing your opinions. I'll go back and consolidate some more of your comments because I know you left a lot, and I know we didn't get a chance to hit on every single one of them. But I do appreciate the openness to discussion. So, while we're on the topic of Alphino, and you know, maybe one of the reasons why people dislike Wouklamont, like Wouklamont has those quirks that we mentioned, seasickness, etc. Alphino also has a lot of those quirks. Like he can't swim, but
he can't collect firewood.
Yeah, but he's a beloved character because we've got to spend so much time with him. We've seen his progression and his growth, so those quirks are like, oh, it's funny. Like, yeah, it's just Alphanode. Perhaps for someone like Wouklamont, who we have just met, it's like, well, I don't like you because you're still in the limelight and you have these quirks, but those are stupid because I don't know you.
I think a lot of people did look at it that way. Now, kind of regardless of how I come across with like a lot of my statements, I am very moderate as a person. So like I am not saying that a lot of the stuff was right or wrong. I'm just kind of going on, you know, what has been going on. I'm still very much in the camp that I liked Dawntrail. I thought it was, solid. But I have never been afraid to call out whenever I think the game has done something wrong. And to quickly touch on something, because I will forget this, because I don't know if we'll touch on it again. The voice acting thing, I do believe that was a voice direction issue.
I think,
and I believe that was even kind of stated in one thing. And among all deliveries, there is one thing that bothered me that I've never heard anyone else talk about. It was in the Wuklamot kidnapping scene. Remember when she flies up into the air and Kona catches her? Well, breaks her fall.
Yes, that in the dungeon.
There is a
right?
sound that he makes. This big, ooh! And it sounds right. He just got landed on by a woman who is much bigger than him. That took the air out of him. At the end of that scene, he is walking away, and they just replay that same sound effect, that same sound clip of him walking away, that as he's kind of like just bending over in pain. It was just a completely reused asset that I don't know why. Such a small thing really took me out of the moment.
Well, yeah, I think that was one of the points I was talking about, where clearly there was some discrepancy with the voice acting production in general. Again, bringing up the whole Y'shtola thing, I probably didn't even catch that, but yeah, those are like small quality things that it leads me to believe clearly the process, there's something funky going on in there, and definitely wasn't up to par.
I never noticed Y'shtola at all until I heard people talking about it, and I'm like, wait, what are they? Oh, then I went back and watched. I'm like, oh, that does sound weird. But going through it, she was the one that I never noticed anything.
Yeah, I tend to have an ear for audio things, but I think like H2O confirmed it in the moment that a lot of people brought it up as well. So
the only thing I noticed about Y'shtola is her low-res fuzz on her coat.
Well, there's a lot of characters that I look at and like, damn, your face and hair look so good, but the poly count on your shirt right now, ooh.
Oh, we need to go to something from a later patch, because that is not doing you any favors, girlfriend.
Yeah. By the way, Novel, you're free to interject at any point during these.
Yeah, but the point of voice acting, I can't say much because I play a JP, so I can't. I don't know much about the English voice acting.
Yeah. So there was, if we're talking about the voice acting here, there was one part that I wrote about, but I don't know if I'm going to include, which goes back to all the way back to 6.55. Like ever since 6.55, people have been talking about Wuklamot, the voice, and comparing with the Japanese voice. One of the comments that I remember reading in one of those videos was about how feminine or lack of feminine there was in Wuklamot's voice, which I don't know if you guys have heard. I haven't heard it brought up since.
I've heard it, and I just kind of write those people off.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll say a big part of that is just transphobia for one. And for the other, on the other side, I am a JP player. I have heard a lot of the English voice acting, and there's differences in many places. So it's not strange that there's a difference here too.
Yeah.
Like
the
fairies, all the fairies sound like children in the Japanese voice acting, and in English they sound like Scottish adults.
Which I love.
Okay, maybe I'll include that then. I wasn't sure if I was going to include that, but because I did talk about the transphobe thing pretty much as a part of the disclaimer here. But my rebuttal to that was like, I don't know. As Sorrel has just stated, plenty of women have less feminine voices. Same with different cultures, etc. And for me, I think I mentioned this on stream. Like, I watched The Lion King when I was a kid. I don't know if you guys have seen it or watched it in English, but like Nala's adult voice and Sarabi's voice, like far from your like super high pitch, what you would think like very feminine voice, right? So
yeah,
I guess those things never really bothered me. But as a thing, I did look up the Japanese voice for Nala's adult actress. It was very high pitched comparison. Maybe that's like a Japanese thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, I was going to say that I wouldn't say the English voice is like less feminine. I'd say there is like a more youthful quality to the JP voice, which is the difference. But that's different in like every voice, I think. For like,
and she also has a Puerto Rican accent. I have Puerto Rican
Right.
friends. They all have that accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it ends up just being this. It's not feminine enough. It's not masculine enough. It's too high pitched. It's too rumbly. It's a matter of taste, right? Like, it is not objectively good or bad, like a tone of someone's voice. It's more an aspect of the performance overall, right? And their performance was fine. Like,
I'll say
that's the end all be all, and I don't think really anybody can truly dispute it. It was fine. Was it, Emmy Award winning whatever? Maybe not. But most games don't have that level anyway, especially with a large cast.
I did.
But
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to backtrack when John was talking about the accent here. We kind of touched about it earlier. I didn't write about this, but I've seen people talk about the accent. And H2O wrote a comment saying, like, yeah, people were saying that it doesn't sound like, a proper accent. But I live in LA and, like, I hear this accent all the time. I don't, have you guys, like, heard anything about that? Or from your own experiences? Like, to me, I didn't think, like, oh, this is, like, a really bad accent or something, like, fake accent. Like, it sounded natural to me, but I don't know if you guys had opinions on that.
I only ever said that I loved the accents because I thought that, like, even if I couldn't place them myself, because, like, I'm just from random southern state, I'm from Kentucky, I'm just a dude. There's not a lot of variety here. But talking to Volpini was talking about that it was very, like, it was something that they are used to hearing. Like, they can place it. And that gave it more legitimacy to me, and that might be the problem with other people, is just having not heard that accent themselves, like, in the real world.
Yeah, like I said, I have 3 friends who are Puerto Rican, but they all have that same accent. Sounds fine. I mean, it's the accent, and I'm a white dude from Missouri.
Well, I can't say much myself, even though I'm from Latin America and from Argentina. My accent is pretty different, so I don't know. But by the way, Kev, other examples for different voices in Japanese and English, Ladybus being like this very deep voice that he has in English, nothing alike to the Japanese, where he sounds a lot more younger. And well, since he apparently turned out to be like more of a child, that fits a lot better with that. But and it took me quite a while to get used to the more nasally voice that Emmett Selk has. That he sounds more like a cartoonish villain in English to me than he like more very very tired man that Japanese has. But
Oh, interesting.
English Emmett has a little bit of a Shakespeare thing going on, in my opinion, and I love it.
For sure.
As for like the discourse around Wukamai, you also have to remember it's the internet. Have you, like, people are griping about the new Ciri and the new Witcher because she doesn't look like a female enough. They're griping about the girl in the intergalactic Naughty Dog game.
Yo, Ciri is badass. I don't know what they're talking about. I love Ciri.
It's like, it's just so stupid. People, like, who cares?
Yeah, part of the discourse, unfortunately, which makes it a lot harder to have a really good discussion a lot of times whenever it comes to, actual gripes or, actually talking about the pros and the cons of a game, is the general knee-jerk of the internet is, I don't like this one thing, this game is shit. Yeah, but what about this other thing? No, this game is shit. And they just lock in on that opinion.
But Nawal, can you reiterate some of the character differences, or just mention the names again? I just want to write them down in parentheses. You said Elidibus was one.
Yes, Elidibus sounds very much more younger in Japanese, and like Emmett sounds more like a tired dude, like a very tired dude in Japanese, rather than the more like bombastic, cartoonish dude that he is in English. Which I think in English it kind of clashes a bit with what turned out to be what's his name, Van Daniel, but he is a lot more extreme,
Oh yeah, Fernando goes way past 11.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same actor for Asahi.
My take on Emmett was always that kind of tired old man, but it was tired old man who's seen too much in his kind of found humor in his dark place.
A tired old man who is a little bit insane.
Because how could you cannot be sane going through everything that he had gone through.
No.
I often think of the because I think of it because there is a video actually comparing them now that I think of it. But of the one, there's a video about the different
Good point, Squirrel. I wrote it down.
languages for Emmet in when he sees, like, he comes in and tells you, "Wow, you liberated the sky and ruined all my work," you know, and how he turns the phrase, how he acts that bit, it's very different. You can very much see that, and how one is he's like he's about to lose it basically, and the other is just, oh, god damn it.
Yeah. If I can direct a little bit to the chat, I see what Sorrel just said. There is no way for one single person to represent all of the infinite number of experiences and identities that exist. You're always making assumptions and they're going to be wrong from time to time. Sometimes it won't matter, sometimes it will. It's a very good point, like extremely good point. And we're all, like, every single person is going to have some different kind of opinion, especially whenever it comes to the voice acting and things of if we thought this character fit or if that one fit. But it's less about, I think most people aren't going to think super critically on that, but it's going to be more of just what our preferences are.
Yeah. I think, again, I think you said you listened to it on mobile. I'm hoping that my disclaimer, but it's, you know, it's basically a disclaimer of what I will say in the beginning will weed out the people who have such mindsets right at the beginning. So hopefully that's something we don't have to contend with. Though I 100% expect to get comments of varying sorts.
Oh, there will be hateful comments.
Yeah, there definitely will.
But I think part of it is because you and I are very similar in that, is that we are positive people, or try to be as much as we can. And we can criticize the things we love, but if we're talking about them in a positive light, some people just don't like that. Like, if they don't like the game, they're coming for you, man.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me quick. Square Luxer, welcome on in.
Around too much.
Yeah, we're just having a discuss. Square Luxer is saying criticism is fine, but attacking, harassing is not. Yeah, which I think is again something that I think will weed out most of the people within the first 30 seconds of the video. Based off what I will say there.
Sure. There's also I watch anime. I watch both English and Japanese stuff, and I don't know if anyone here has ever watched Noragami. But I have watched the English dub. It's good, but I much prefer the Japanese voice actor for the main character Yato. So he has so much more emotion, and that is one thing I can like say of like, okay, maybe the English voice actor is good, but there's just a little something, a little more emotion that the other actor gives. Like, I think that the Japanese voice actor for Yato and Origami is, I won't say a better voice actor, but is giving a better performance, I guess, maybe in the language or just like putting some emotion into it. That is something to consider when, talking about voice cast.
Yeah.
That a lot of people sometimes miss, I think.
Yeah, it can happen.
By the way, Sorrel, who are you quoting from? By the way, I was just asking Sorrel who that quote was from.
Gotcha.
So yeah, definitely a lot of preference when it comes to the languages that people prefer and the way that they decide to act out those performances.
And you also have to remember that a lot of the English voice actors for Dawntrail were doing like up to, I think there was one of them did like 7 or 8 characters.
Yeah.
And it's wild how many characters they had to do.
And also, from what I understand, the voice acting for Dawntrail was done across 2 different recording locations, one in England and one in LA.
Yeah, I believe I think I heard that too somewhere. I can't remember where it was.
Which could very well be part of the voice direction issues. Or but I can't fully blame it on that because some of it could 1000% be they weren't told exactly what was going on in the story, which is the case 99% of the time.
I mean, the and I get it, they want to keep spoilers to a minimum, but when it impacts the production of your voice work, I think you can afford to tell the people who are working on it what the voice work's actually for. To you
Right.
might need some emotion because your character is trying to lift a giant robot.
I believe it was even said that was part of the, like, someone correct me if you know differently, but I'm pretty sure that was with the Wookiee re-recording that they did for the last fight. That was the issue. That
I heard that
the
somewhere
voice
too, and I
actress
can't remember
didn't
where.
know the situation, so she did not go as intense as she needed to.
Yeah.
I think what I saw was like the director didn't even exactly know what it was going to be used for.
Well, that's the problem. Is the information isn't getting down the line where it really needs to.
Yeah.
That's an industry issue more than that.
I get it. I would like to know some of the production stuff behind Dawntrail because I mean, give them credit. They did a lot of stuff for this expansion with the graphics update, all the dye stuff. I mean, there was a lot more work put into Dawntrail across the game itself. Now, whether that influenced the voice work or the writing, I don't know, but
I think
they put a lot of work into this expansion over some of the others.
I think it's just something that happens in every industry. Like even at my company, when I was working with Sorel, right? It's like, okay, initiative from the top down, CEO. Okay, next middle manager. Here's the directive. Okay, I'm gonna give it to my middle manager. They're gonna give it to his middle. Okay. Now I'm gonna tell my team. Maybe that team has an apprentice under
It's
them.
like that. It's like
Telephone
that
game
that people play where they like put headphones on, or they tell one person what the sentence is, and then they turn to another person who has headphones on, and they
Yeah,
try
the telephone.
to pass it down the line.
I was thinking of the
gets
telephone
different.
game, but you're thinking of something a little different.
It's same premise.
Yeah.
But it is very much a problem that in a lot of things like this, it's orders from higher up directly conflict with what you're already working on and what should be worked on. It's just it's always a problem with that.
And also something I hadn't thought about. This was, and I'm not exactly sure which team because they also were probably working on Dawntrail while they were working on 16. So that was another thing on probably a lot of their plates because they had 2 games to work on. So for the first time ever.
Oh, by the way, guys, just in the scenario, I feel like it could be a likely scenario where we don't get to all the discussion points. Then I'm totally open to having a part 2, to get to some of the other stuff. And just to kind of move things along, I feel like we talked about Wooklamat a lot. Was there anything else anyone wanted to bring up about Wooklamat? We talked about Wooklamat's journey, the pacing of it a bit, their role front and center in the story, the voice behind Wooklamat. Was there anything else that anyone wanted to bring up?
Well, with her being front and center, I can say that I only ever had issue with one scene of Wooklamat being front and center. And it, like, start to finish, I only had one scene where it was a problem for me. And it was just Wooklamat's appearance in the last fight. Above the poor delivery on the first one, or the poor direction, I guess I should say. I don't know. That took me out of that fight.
I kind of feel like I think it should have been included, but I think there should have definitely should have been a different way to do it. There's something about that whole her breaking through. If they would have had, I wish they would have almost had a cutscene to show where Wooklamat was before she broke through. Of like, well, how did she even get here? What? I don't. She just shows up through the dimension crack. It's kind of strange. It just felt like it kind of came out of nowhere with no real reason. Because you still have to fight Speen.
I mean, I can hand wave that thing because it's a fantasy video game and we've done far weirder shit.
Oh yeah, I can
speaking plainly. But it was
Yeah.
definitely a thing of, at that point, when Speen had said that we were the only ones who were a danger.
Oh, I get it.
You see what I mean? It's like, at that point, we were the main focus for the first time in the story. And I felt a little robbed. I'm not going to say it's a horrible thing. It still works fine the way it happened. But just for me personally, did feel a little robbed in that one moment.
I think they. I don't. Would it have been any better if, like, when Steam put everyone in the bubble and sent them away, if Wukamon had broken out of the bubble right then, it's like, okay, we will do this, but you need to go. So you have Wukamon around the entire stage doing something while you're doing the fight, like keeping an attack off of you, or I don't know if that would have worked any better.
I think. Go ahead.
Continue.
No. You have had any time, and I'll please continue.
Well, I'm going to say that to me it's fine because in a way it shows the other point they were making with the narrative of that fight, that it's the Fiend as a person still lived within that machine, you know, and like Fiend switches targets mostly because of how she feels personally with Wuklamat, not because necessarily because she felt she was a bigger threat or anything like that. You know, it's part of how there's a thing, like a theme of doing fights in honorable ways. You know, it's how what's his name, Gululja fought Zoralja. You know, with the honor that. It was a weird scene, that one.
Sure.
I knew what they wanted to do with the honor and the how they were dueling between each other in just between the two of them, but they did it weirdly. They could have made it in some other way.
Did Wuklamat actually really do anything after the cutscene?
Not after that cutscene. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the cutscene itself was her breaking through the barrier, quote unquote, talking, and then I believe she delivered a few attacks to Sphene.
I'm pretty sure she broke through the barrier. She slashes Sphene. The hand comes down, and then she like stands on a little platform like that's broken off from the arena, right in front of Sphene, and kind of just stands there. I think
she actually LBs maybe at the same time you do.
I
feel like that's.
But now your point was that Wuklamat's presence there kind of brought back the humanity, like from within Sphene.
That's definitely a point that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have no problem with that theme of it, right? But just from an overall like fight and where it was identified as thus being the only real threat, I just think the scene would have played out better had it been something to the effect of Wuklamat breaks through the barrier, is diving towards Sphene, but Sphene immediately restrains her. But she still gets her speech, but is otherwise removed from the fight until we've weakened Sphene enough for her to join back in. I just think it was a bit of a overall flow thing that didn't agree with me. It felt like Wuklamat's power level was suddenly a lot higher than it should have been, or maybe Sphene wasn't as strong as we thought. Just something in there felt weird to me.
Yeah, I could almost see like a thing of like, okay, Wuklamat comes in and she actually gets Sphene out of the robot, and then you have like it goes berserk and you have to then annihilate the robot. Like, because Sphene was still in the robot. I could see like, okay, she comes in, gets like reawakens Sphene, pulls Sphene out, and then like, okay, now you guys can annihilate the robot. I have Sphene. She's back kind of with this. She's still going to die, but like,
but overall, my thing is just very nitpicky.
Yeah,
like I would have liked to seen it gone a little bit different. I don't hate the way it happened, but it's one of the few times where I was just kind of taken out of the story a little bit. I was like, it's still fine, and just kept going.
I think my only real problem with her, and it's a weird one because it's not a problem yet, is the fact that they seem to be putting a lot of time into her. Is she going to be around for 8.0? Like, what are we doing with her in the future? Since we're putting all of this into her.
I think it'll probably be like a lease thing, honest.
I hope not, but
yeah, I want her to be around.
I think that she is going to be kind of the head of the quote-unquote Scions of the Seventh Dawn that are Raleigh based. She's going to be our main contact, right? She and Kona are the leaders of a city, country, whatever the case may be. And it's going to be a thing, I think, because I'm pretty sure they're going to keep us on the Raleigh side of the world for a little bit, at least another expansion or two, which would go along with their, saying that they wanted to, like, we're building up to something new. We're starting over.
Yeah.
So I imagine we're going to be in the islands and stuff around that. I don't think Mericidia is too far away from Tyrol, and I do believe that's probably going to be a major thing coming up.
I'm kind of thinking Mericidia's because we've had, the South Isles with the Malala. That's where Mericidia is. I kind of think Mericidia is probably going to be the next expansion if I had to guess. But it's like down at where is
It's basically Australia, as I understand.
Yeah, it is like clear at the bottom of the map. Like it's fairly far away from.
Well, I was thinking kind of a lease role in the same sense that, how all, when big important stuff, okay, we need Hean and his crew to be here, or, we need Lise and the Alamegans to pop up. Okay, now we need the Tiralis, and that's kind of how I was imagining it. Because I watched a grinding gear video a while back, and I remember one of them was talking about how they were hoping it would go, or where they think this is going to go, is because of all this like interdimensional stuff. Is like, okay, we're building up Wukulmat as a leader here, and along with all the other leaders on Aetheris, right, we have a stable team here while we go off and do interdimensional stuff.
Which I think that will definitely be a part of it, and this expansion and previous expansion, we have definitely gotten separated from the main world in Ultima Thule and in Living Memory. Well, even on top of that, technically also Heritage Found, but we are getting into different shards and like aspects of reality throughout all of this as well. So I don't think it's going to be something they'll shy away from at all.
By the way, how was backtracking just a little bit? How was Lise received in Stormblood when Stormblood came out? Was it like an alpha no situation?
It was really hit or miss. Am I the only person who was playing during that time?
I started 2 years ago.
Okay.
I started more or less at the same time as.
Well, because H2O was just brought up a comment here. By the way, I thought H2O went to bed. Irish, good old H2O.
Yeah.
Or they said H2O saying that the team, Yoshi team, want to respond to community feedback, and Wook is fairly disliked in any language. I think more people will be upset than not if she's going to continue being a part of the team, or maybe a part of the team, but if she still continues to have like a larger role. Do you think this influences Squeenix in any way?
That I do believe it does. They've been pretty big on listening to community feedback on most things. So, I mean, if it is that major, and I kind of forgot how poorly Wook has been received, like, universally. Personally, I don't mind, but it will probably end up backing her into more of a supporting role from far away, brought in for certain things. And even then, it is quite possible. No, I was about to say they might bring in Kona more going forward, but it'll probably still be Wook because it makes more sense. I guess it more depends on what we're doing at the time. But at least was very poorly received because, I mean, Jesse Cox. When it was coming up to the Dawntrail release, I didn't want to go back and play through everything because I was playing other things at the time. But I brought up all of his old VODs, and I watched him go through everything that he had streamed up to current. And whenever he was going through Stormblood, he was voicing all the characters and everything, but every time Lise was on screen, he just went, Lise! Like a Pokemon, just Lise! And that's kind of how it felt. It felt like she was just kind of there. And I don't know, her overall demeanor and everything at the time, and and I still kind of feel this way, is it felt way too. It was too wild of a character swing from her impersonating Ida, for one.
I just think of Garrett from Candid, her Valley Girl voice.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I'm not gonna get started on that. I'll get way too sidetracked. Lise felt. I mean, it was a very Wook Lamont thing of, she has to do this. She has to lead these people to freedom, whether they want it or not. It felt very self-righteous and way too pushy in everything that she did, and I think that's what people didn't like about her in general. There were moments where she shined, and again, oddly, like Wook Lamont, it was in comedy moments. Because some of the deliveries and stuff, and especially, everybody wants to punt a Namazu.
Yes, I was just thinking.
Like, when it came to the comedy, I think those are the points when people would lighten up around her, but when she became serious again, she kind of felt like the wrong person for the role, to me.
Was there?
I wish that Hien had been more of a focus, because he had more of those leader qualities, and it would have made more sense. But it felt like at times, even for the Doman side of things, Lise was far more assertive, in a way perhaps self-righteous about the whole thing. I could be misspeaking a little bit, but I can definitely see where the hatred comes from, given I don't hate her, never did, but I felt that the story did drag a lot of the times whenever she was the primary focus.
Okay. Just wanted to get that backstory or that reference there.
That's about what I can recall in my own personal feelings like from that time. And given the last thing I can say on this, especially if you're asking me, or like whatever I kind of found to be like the general attitude towards things at the time, is we had to wait 3 to 4 months between every story beat. And I've been there. I was only unsubscribed for one part, so a lot of the times, especially in older players, we will end up being a lot more set in our ways, or more emotional, or pulled towards something in a much stronger way, just because we had to wait. We got stuck on these moments, on these cliffhangers. You have to think about where all these patches ended, and sometimes it left a bad taste in your mouth for months.
Right.
You had time to stew on what was happening, and when something new came along, you're like, well, that's not what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, where are we going from here? Or you get these small patches where it's like, I don't understand anything that just happened. And then you just have to sit on it and pick it apart because you have nothing else to do at the time.
Especially the lead into Shadowbringers. Oh, good lord, that must have been
but that was fun.
Yeah.
that was great.
I think that's about the second best patch cycle in the game, in my opinion. Like my favorite, like the best this game's ever been is 5.1 to 5.3. But I think that was probably my second. The intro to Shadowbringers is fantastic.
I think the intro to Shadowbringers is the one part of this game that makes you a believer in this game. Like, ending Stormblood, going into Shadowbringers, that's the section that will make someone either love or hate this game.
For me, it was...
Just have to get there first.
Yeah.
It was
Man, that is a tall order, too.
It was Omega versus Shinryu, because I'm a Gundam and Kaiju fan, and I was like, okay, this is the coolest thing I have seen in this game yet. This fight's awesome.
Hey guys, let's take a quick little break here, a couple of minutes. We'll come back and we'll touch on some more Dawntrail topics here.
Yeah.
Alrighty, quick break. Quick breather, y'all. I'm gonna hit the restroom. Get some
H2O said no breaks.
H2O I thought it was supposed to be in bed.
H2O is an ever-present entity that is both here and not here at the same time.
This H2O is in me.
H2O.
H2O is in me all times.
There's water.
BRB.
There you go.
mess around with my stupid computer some more.
Hold over here. By the way, Square Loopster, you weren't here for it, but I did have a little talking point in the beginning where I was discussing my mind state when it comes to discussing like this, and yeah, I pretty much the same sentiment as you, right? Like criticism is fine. If anything, criticism is like necessary, right? Criticism is important for improving, as long as it is, you know, constructive, right? And not just an attack on something. And yeah, and I was harping on the other side, like, yeah, you know, if someone criticizes something you like, it's fine, right? It's okay for something to be criticized and you can still like it. It doesn't mean anything bad. It's totally okay. Ooh, I don't know what Nawel just linked me here. Oh, okay, there's a thing here too. Oh, a little. Oh, okay, I'll go read through this at some point. Oh man, how's everyone doing? Are we alive still? We're still alive and kicking. All right, I'm back. Anyone? Is everyone back?
Welcome back.
I'm here. I never left.
Everyone, you never left. I was always here.
Same. I will have one more small thing because I wanted to finish up my perspective point, but just let me know when to go on that.
Yeah, go.
It should be short. Well, you say go?
Go.
Okay. So it's a short thing, but it's kind of a more person-to-person basis. Well, expectations and perspectives. First thing, I'll make this short. Expectations. Before this expansion came out, Yoshi P had warned everybody that it was going to be lower stakes and they're trying something new and they were building back up. So anybody who went into this expecting those things to happen anyway and hated it because of it, they didn't temper their expectations or didn't listen to warnings. I'll say that. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's just part of an issue with me is people not listening to what the developer said.
I mean, I agree.
The second thing was perspective. I think this is my last point on perspective. I gave a few earlier, but the last point on perspective is both your relationship with this game and your relationship that you have with your Warrior of Light, right? And given that could be a kind of a nebulous thing, but it's kind of like in the decisions you get to make in the game, are you choosing the serious ones? Do you have something predefined in your head of this is how your character would react under certain situations and you're answering based on that? Are you just picking the funny option every time that comes up? Are you skipping things? Do you just not care? Like, it depends on how you're viewing your Warrior of Light is going to kind of how your main reaction is going to be to being Wooklamant's mentor and not being the character of focus in this story. So, like, I have had with the way my character is in my head for a long, long time. I went through a phase where I was writing things because I was really bored. All kinds of different things like that. Like, I know who this character is in my head. It's not just me, but it's these ideals that I've kind of settled on and how they would be in the world. So seeing my character like that, that expression that I was mentioning earlier, and I'm sure anybody who doesn't play with sunglasses noticed it in Dawntrail, when your eyes would kind of relax, that kind of like eyes of a killer is kind of how.
Wait a minute. The first time you brought it up, I was thinking like, wait a minute, I never noticed the eye thing, and now I realize why. I never noticed the eye thing.
That's why I even prefaced it, because you might not have noticed this because you always wear sunglasses.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Like, I implore you, before you go forward with your thoughts, like, and you're actually going to make this, go watch some of those scenes. A very important one. I'm pretty like 99% sure it happened in the Willamette recovery scene from the kidnapping. Just where your character is, something threatening is going on, but it is like this cold focus they get. Like just this expression of just like,
yeah,
you would not want someone looking at you that way.
If I remember right, it's like your character's kind of on the back row. Kona's talking. The lackeys go to do something, and your character just kind of walks up slow, almost like, yeah, come on,
Yeah,
do
that
it.
was.
You know you want to.
Yeah, it was right. That's after that look, and it's just like you're just walking towards him. It's like, I dare you.
I'm going to put you in the ground if you do it. Come on, you know you want to.
And given they didn't let us do anything, right? But there were those small moments like that just proved like how out of their league we are. And even like there was a moment in the kidnapping scene with her father, like whenever you're going to play as Willamette, like you get to choose something. It's like, don't worry, like, or God, I can't remember what it is, but like there is a very, very taunting message you can tell Buckle Jaja during that scene, and it just makes you feel that like it's a silly thing, it's an insult like to hell and back, but it gives you that feeling of, okay, my character's really just does not give a damn right now. And it's like you don't see that anywhere else, and all of the comments are kind of like that, but there's one that was particularly insulting. But again, it's all on your perspective. Like, if you think yourself as this cold-hearted killer warrior of light, then you're not doing anything, so you're going to have a poor experience in this entire expansion. If you think of your character as, you know, a guardian, which we kind of have been, like, canonically, then you don't feel nearly as bad because you are kind of nurturing this young hero, and you've done that in the past, this new adventurer. You're kind of helping someone along their way. And you know the pitfalls, especially if you've done all the job quests and you're completely up to date. Which I will not go into because, Kev, I know that you haven't done all of them. But I guess like the one I can touch on is Dark Knight, because you've done all those, yes?
Yes, but if you were to ask me if I remember exactly what happened, I'd be like, yeah, sure.
Well, the entire basic thing is like,
it was Fight Club, right?
Yeah, kind of Fight Club, and you letting out your inner frustrations with, oh, you're the one who saved the world. Would you please go wash these for us? And like, you're done with that shit, all right? And you know that's the fray part. But like, there's a certain aspect of that. It's like you understand, like, they have even put that as part of the Warrior of Light. Of we have a temper. We can only be pushed so far. Even when it comes to mundane things, we're still a person. But either way, it's just the entire perspective thing of how do I see my Warrior of Light in this story?
I think there's a moment in this game that if anybody who gets there knows exactly the feeling they had, I think, when they see this. It's the Xenos fight. When he actually, like, isn't this what you live for, the battle? And you've got, like, the three questions, like, I'm going to put you in the ground. I don't care. I just want this over. Or, well, you're right. This is going to be fun. And that you just, that like, smile your character has, like, Yeah, I do kind of live for this, and I'm excited to fight you, and that's like I think the feelings of your character. That's kind of where you go. Okay, this is who my character is. I finally figured it out, even though it's in freaking Endwalker.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a quick question, and I want since you brought up like expectations for Dawntrail. Expectations for Dawntrail before you saw Solution 9 to after.
Like me or just like open?
Open, yeah, open. Because I think that's a big. I was like loosely excited for Dawntrail from when the first show, and then I saw Solution 9. It was like, holy crap, what is this place? The excitement went way up after that. Like,
Yeah. Let's save the discussion of the after Solution 9 talk for later, because I kind of wanted to talk about Dawntrail as a first half, second half, but we could talk about expectations before even getting there. My whole thing was like, what the hell? Like, how the fuck do we cross this bridge and go to Star Wars? That was literally my thing. I was like, how is this gonna work? I'm super excited to see.
How did we end up on the Citadel from Mass Effect?
My knee jerk. My knee jerk with as long as I've played this game was, as soon as I saw it, I started really examining it, going, is this Allegan?
That was probably one of my first things too. It's like,
because we've seen it, again, this is a fantasy game, so we obviously get ancient civilizations that had technology that far surpassed our own. So that was my first thing. Immediately was like, okay, is this Allegan? And it didn't look it to me. It was too clean. So my next thing was, okay, this is from another shard. And I landed on it, basically. But yeah, I mean, that was honestly my first reaction. But as far as my expectations went, it didn't really change anything. It was how are we getting there? We already see it. I know it's going to be there, but how are we getting there?
Yeah, that was my biggest question too, which I was like really excited to see.
Yeah, which we did fall on it being from another shard, and so I was at least vindicated in that. But it didn't change my expectations on what I thought Dawntrail was going to be. Seeing it, it was more of okay, that's neat.
I thought, like, when I first heard the name of it, I was, Solution 9. This is somebody trying to come up with a solution to live through the final days.
I believe Solution 9 was also one of Zadane's limit breaks from Final Fantasy 9.
Yeah, For this game, I was like, okay, this is probably going to be is it ASEAN? I hope to God not. We're done with these guys for a while. But was it like, hey, are we going to get there whenever we get there and be like, oh yeah, this place was built specifically to survive the coming final days by someone who knew what was coming?
Yeah.
Is that going to lead into our next big thing? Like, okay, who was this person who knew the final days were coming, who has the power to possibly survive it? I was honestly a smidge disappointed that it wasn't something like that, but it was still cool what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me it was just like I knew we were having a summer vacation, and it was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll enjoy that. I am sure. It'll be low stakes and all, but Solution 9 was like it came from a weird angle, you know. I didn't know what to expect after that, and it gave some excitement to the future, but nothing. I still expected a bit of a summer vacation, you know. Obviously, it wouldn't. Like the vacation wouldn't have anything happen at all. Like I knew that the game would still have like some stakes at least, but
sure.
That's it's actually a good somewhat segue, because the next thing unless someone else had anything they wanted to bring up, the next topic I wanted to discuss was kind of just the first half of Dawntrail in a nutshell, basically the Rite of Succession arc. Which for me, some of the quick notes that I wrote here was it played out how I thought it would for the most part, and I figured we'd finish knowing that we had Star Wars shenanigans to get to, that we'd probably finish the Rite of Succession by mid-expansion. in order to get to the next part. And I guess in general, it was definitely, I mean, like lower stakes. It felt slower at multiple points compared to the second half of Dawntrail, but it definitely picked up for me when we got to the Yaqui zone, the Land of the Giants, etc. But just broad topic thoughts on the first part of Dawntrail, the Rite of Succession.
So I linked you in the server an interview that came out recently, that it was done in like Arabia or something.
Good night, Cyril.
Where Yoshi P basically says that he kind of regrets doing it this slow pace and all, but that the whole Rite of Succession was maybe a bit too slow for everyone's tastes. So yeah, I think personally, I don't know if I'd say I wanted it to be like faster or like have more stakes. Well, maybe stakes, yes, but not like world-ending stakes, you know. But I would have liked that they took some more like risks, to put it in some way. Like the grinding gear guys, for example, had a very big beef with the one trial where you cook. In that one, like they have to choose basically a random teammate, and we get exactly the best teammate we could have had with Kona.
Oh yeah,
and that's like a bit of a cop out, let's say, like a very safe answer for what could have been something more interesting, you know. And like the only real risk they took, which wasn't actually really a risk because we knew we needed a trial, was like releasing Bali Garamanda, you know. That's like the only strange thing that happened, where the trial of ice was ruined, and you know we had a monster running around, but that was like very small, and we know we had our company mandated trial for the level, so it wasn't the craziest thing.
As far as like taking risks, I mean, maybe this is kind of adjacent, but like the cadence of how the first part of Dawntrail played out was very like repetitive, right? It's like, okay, we have to go meet this new culture. The way is blocked. Okay, now we're gonna find a way to get there. Now we're here. Okay, we do the thing. We learn about the culture. Okay, next one, the way is blocked. Okay, now we have to find a different way there, and then it just kind of repeats in that sense too. So I guess in that sense, there wasn't anything super unexpected that happened as far as what we were going to do next in a general sense.
I will say on that though, that's definitely not the first time they've done that. That's been their pattern since Shadowbringers. We're going to go to a zone, but we cannot finish this zone until later. So it's like, go here, overcome this thing. Okay, now we need to go over here. Like it's very much the same pattern. It's their formula. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the first part at least felt like it stretched a bit too much at some points. But I also personally think that's a bit of a return to form, actually, because I felt about that. I felt that way about like all the way up to Stormblood, at least, even some parts of Shadowbringers. But Endwalker was like the exception, but you know, it's just, I don't know. I felt that way about all the expansions. Always feel like they go a little bit too long in each area, you know. Like you need to reach this amount of experience to actually hit this level, so you have to do X amount of quests in here, even though you're stretching your plot a bit too thin, you know.
Yeah.
But that's
as far as Endwalker goes, the stakes were so high going into that expansion. Even if things took a long time, it didn't feel like it because you were just so invested.
Yeah.
And that's definitely part of it. And like taking risks, like their big risk was Dawntrail in its entirety. Because there's nothing more they can do but move forward, but how they do it. So the entire reset is going to be, well, I mean, we're still in the middle of it, and we're still going to see how it goes. I don't think the startup is terrible, but it's still a risk. In the first like half of the story, it did feel a little slow at times. I also kind of tackled this MSQ a little bit slower than I normally do. Normally I sit down and I go through it. Not rush it, but I am hungry for a story. I want it. I need it. Must have it. And normally I just attack it, but this I kind of slowed down a little bit, so maybe the pace didn't get to me as much since I wasn't attacking it the way I normally do. But it did drag for sure. But the majority of the dragging was introducing characters that would be brought up again later, so it felt better later on. Like the silly old man.
Yeah.
Please don't worry about it. That I will not worry about it a whit. I can't remember.
Wookiee Boo, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
I call him Surabachi. That's how I imagine Surabachi to act.
But stuff. There was a lot of introducing characters like that in like small little bits.
I mean, it was a lot of world building for this new area, which I liked. Like I liked learning about the different cultures, but I could totally see like coming off the galactic high of Endwalker, how it could definitely feel, it's very drastic. A very drastic difference compared to what we had just played through. So
100%.
I think just kind of going back to, it played out how I thought I would. Like they introduced, I mean, we met Wookiee in 6.55, but as they introduced all the different claimants, like I had a pretty clear idea of the path that each one would have to take, the purpose of the right of succession for them. Wookiee, just overall experience alerting the cultures, Kona needing to find the power within the cultures here, because as someone who is so much reliant on external innovations and technologies, realizing and learning about their culture. Zoral Ja, right? He was very, very, very power hungry, I guess, or he wanted what was this whole thing? It was all about
he wanted people to understand suffering so they would appreciate peace.
Right. Yeah. So like his path would be to appreciate the peace that they have.
Very militaristic.
Yeah, very very militaristic.
Yeah. Very Code Geass.
I mean, the thing about the Zoralja as a character is that he can't say his true motivations. He lies about his motivations. He can't say his true motivations because he's pathetic. He only wants to be better than his dad. That's the thing. And like, you can't lead with that, you have to give a different reason. Like, he wants to he says he wants to make them appreciate peace by conquering and stuff. That's because that's kind of what his dad did, but he wants to do it better, like in a bigger scale, like almost the entire planet. And he kind of fails the trial, and then he goes down in a downward spiral where he tries to actually best his dad in a one-on-one. That's why he fights him. And then we have Wookiee that kind of embodies his dad after that, but his ideals and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can understand what Zoralja was going for without condoning it, right? So it is not hard to understand the entire like despair that he felt in a way. Like, I'm just talking character aspect if you're just going inside someone's head because like it's actually something I can relate to a little bit with how my family viewed me early in life. But whenever everyone is like, you are this miracle, you are this genius, you are unsurpassed in combat, all these things that are in his head of these expectations that he wants to live up to and feels like he has no choice but to live up to, he goes about it completely the wrong way. Absolutely. Like, cannot condone anything he did. Everything is awful. But that was what was in his head. And then, of course, later on with Galul Ja, but we can talk about that after we get to the second half. But like, the entire thing being just he felt that he had to create. He was so broken inside that he felt like he had to create this horrible catastrophe for his nation to save them from, so he could live up to that expectation of him being the what was it, the promised one, the miracle, and all the other titles that he had lumped upon him. And it's a thing that is relatable. It is a thing that you can understand, but it's never. It's given this is we're talking about a fantasy villain who are always going to go above and beyond to show how much of an idiot they can be in their machinations.
Yeah, so I did have a kind of a section here about Zora's, and part of it would have to be discussing what happens in the second half, which we could totally do, right? Because I mean, everything that you stated here, he kind of like lets it all out at the very end.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel in that moment? Because while I understood why he was saying it, like I feel like it wasn't a surprise either, but I feel like it kind of wasn't like earned in a way. I don't know if that's the right word, because I feel like throughout the beginning parts of ARR before his time jump, yeah, we got these inklings of, from the moment that we started learning about him, right? He's the head of whatever that their guard is. I forget, the Dawn Guard or whatever, right? And they called him like, oh, the only the leader of the Dawn Guard can rival Golul Jaja himself, right? So they already built up like these high expectations, and there are moments during the trials where we can kind of maybe see that pressure. But for me, and I don't know if you guys felt that way, like it kind of all just happened so quickly, and it all happened off screen where we couldn't see that transformation, and then everything that he let out at the end. It was touching, but it was also kind of like this kind of came out of not nowhere per se, but it kind of came out of nowhere in a sense.
It's weird, right? Because like everything kind of happens off screen, but you could always see the cracks forming as the story was going forward, because he was going more and more underhanded, and you could tell that mentally he was not okay. Especially after he loses to the shade of Golul Jaja, right?
Right.
Now this is always kind of a thing that's kind of hard for me to chime in on in a way, because whenever he was having his final moments, which we were just talking about, I am a very empathetic person. So whenever he is going through his speech at the end, talking about he had nothing left to leave little Golul Jaja, and how could he live up to all these expectations, everything, like I cried. Like, I can't help it, because it is like this last moment of, I know I'm dying and I'm just going to let this out. He didn't have to, but it's just like, it makes you feel for him, but it doesn't redeem him. Like, kind of the same thing with Bakul Jaja in a way. You feel for him, but his road to redemption is a long one.
Right. Yeah.
And with Bakul Jaja, we get to see why he is the way he is. We don't get to see why Zorelja is the way he is yet.
Yeah, it's very much a we were told, not shown.
Yeah.
Where it was the opposite with Bakul Jaja. And from a story writing perspective, whenever it comes to time and pacing, it was probably because we are going to have Bakul Jaja for a while. Zorelja had a set end. So it was probably just them making the most of their time with what they wanted on screen. I'm sure like in some renditions we had more of Zorelja's fall more in plain sight, but it was never really a question, was Zorelja's fall going to be spectacular, especially whenever he had Jafar in his ear. I mean, Zorelja.
Yeah. I guess it's...
And he also... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, the character itself was written to be like very stoic. So, it's kind of hard to... I mean, we can infer a lot, which as a player, you definitely can, right? You can see outside of what the characters in the game know. But
yeah,
it's just like, if the character is that stoic, it's kind of hard to always just show.
Yeah.
I think that could be part of it, why it didn't feel as... I loved it. Like I like, yeah, it was touching and everything. I was just more talking about the pacing of the arc, the writing of the arc, etc. His journey.
To me, like going more in depth about with him was not really needed personally.
Yeah.
I think like going more in depth in stuff like the pressures on how he's a miracle and stuff would have been fine and all, and probably would have made some a bit more like emotionally resonant. It would have been a bit more of that, but I think he's pretty simple in terms of character mostly. I think maybe the little Gulja is a bit of a wrench in the works that brings more depth on him, but I don't know. I think for the most part it's fine. But his relationship with Gulja is also one of I'm not there, so it's not like there's a ton to show, you know, for at least from his perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also like death speeches, I think are like to recontextualize and to contextualize, not even recontextualize his character a bit more. I think they're a bit of a common trope, so it wasn't like it surprised me or anything that he had one.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't like super felt for the guy, but I think it's like the last hooray for the character that was one of the main antagonists after all.
I think a big reason that I felt some empathy as well is if you can, let's get an answer from all three of you on this one. If you could describe Zoral Jaw in one word, what would it be?
Stoic.
Like this is this is before the end of the Rite of Succession. Describe him in one word.
Oh, before the end.
I mean, Stoic is still probably my go-to, but definitely, just 2 words: a disappointment, maybe in his eyes.
Okay.
That's disappointment, or this is more than one word. I don't know anything about him.
You got one, Noah?
Sorry.
So, before the end of the Rite of Succession, that's interesting. I wouldn't know.
Just because he changes so wildly after. I'm just looking at before.
Yeah, before that. I don't know. I don't think I had pinned down his motivations there. That's why it's an interesting question to me, because if we say like in the whole deal, assuming I knew like how his character was going, I would have said like pathetic in terms in terms of like how he only lives for the expectations of others mostly. Like he feels like he really has to live up to that.
Okay. So my take on this, the one word to describe him is soldier. He is military. He's the embodiment of military, right? So his entire life is fighting, killing, being good at killing, in strategy and whatever other case that he is in, right? So like there isn't a sense, and this is kind of far-fetched, and I realize that, but kind of along the same lines of whenever all you have is a hammer, all your problems look like nails. Is it kind of coincides with somehow, or not somehow, but how in a lot of cases people who serve in the military, when they come home, they don't know what to do with their lives, right? That they're no longer able to do what they're good at, right? And that is what causes a lot of problems, and I've seen it in family and, you know, friends of family and stuff like that. Like, I know how it goes, but it's the same thing with him, I believe, of he was the soldier and he didn't know how to deal with the rest. So that's where he came up with his solution for his problems and how he was looking to change the country and, you know, be the new Dawn servant. It's why later on, he didn't really know how to deal with Golul Jia because he didn't even understand the love and care that his own father had shown him. Because all he knew was like the combat side of things. Like he didn't understand the love and the affection and everything that Golul Jia felt for him, and the chances he gave, and like the legacies and whatever, the things that he thought where he was being spurned, he was actually being, blessed. It's just, I think that he got lost in that fact of that single-minded, this is what I'm good at, and this is what I'm going to lock in on. Where a lot of times with military folk who come back after, tours in Afghanistan or whatever the case may be, came back and their worldview was changed forever. It's like I said, it's a little far-fetched, but it's something that I can easily relate it to in behavior.
Yeah, I can see that.
No, I can see that. I like that, actually. I thought you were going in a somewhat different but yet adjacent way, where as a soldier he had like one mission in mind, Dawn Servant, Rite of Succession, winner, realizing that he failed, he had no more directive. That's why he went like fuck crazy, right? Like what the hell do I do now?
Yeah, but when you look at it like from this perspective, it's like he was always a soldier, whether he was in command of the army of Tyrol or not, but he always had a mission. But the entire Rites of Succession and then everything that happened to him afterwards, he didn't have the training for that. He didn't have the life experience for that. He didn't understand where to go with it. Because even then, like if you want to go even further into it, you have to think in the history of like the Tyrol region, how the Mamel Jia, like their entire civilization, right? So you have to take a lot of his behavior in the fact that that's what he would have known of his people with the Blessed Ones and everything like that. And everything was always going to be an uphill battle.
No, that's good. I'm internalizing that, compartmentalizing.
Yeah, you also, if you're talking about the Blessed Ones, you also see him go up against Bakul Jaja in that one fight, and he like one-shots him.
Yeah.
He's like, well...
His martial prowess was insane.
And he, there's one of the Blessed Ones, and I just one-punched manned him. How cool must I be?
Yeah. Which I'm sure did something to him in the interim. And there is something to be said for that, because he is definitely not stronger. He was just a better fighter, same as us. Like, we could take on Golul Jaja, we could take on Bakul Jaja, but it's not because we're going to grab him and freaking suplex him. It's well, I mean, if you're a monk, whatever. But it's because we are stronger in the way we fight, even if our physicality doesn't match up. I mean, maybe Kev's pompadour could like slam him, but you'd never know behind those glasses how pleased he was in the moment.
And that, you think about it, for Zeroja, that's the only win he ever had.
In a way. Which, I mean, he had all kinds of accolades, but that would have been one of those things like, oh, okay, I did just beat a Blessed One. That actually could have been a big defining factor in him wanting to fight and kill his own father of, I know I can beat a Blessed One.
Yeah, well, I mean, his father Shade kicked his ass when he was supposedly, like, that was the Dawn Servant at his full power. Yeah. And then his dad, current day, kicked his rear end. The only way he won was because of the soul.
Yep.
And then he ate however many souls later, and we came in and kicked him into the ground. Like, no matter, even when he cheated to get more power that wasn't technically his, we still won. Like, no matter how strong he thought he was or thought he could get, he was never, I don't want to say power level wise, but I don't know how I would say that. Like, the commitment maybe, or he had the skill.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you just...
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that comes back to, like, whenever you're comparing the Warrior of Light to anyone else on Aetheris, there is no comparison. And anybody who thinks that they can take on the Warrior of Light, and it's not like a cocky thing from a Warrior of Light or anything like that, but the Warrior of Light has fought literal gods, embodiments of ancient evils. We've traveled through time, and like all these other things in this game that are completely canonical to what we have done. If anybody knew even half of those, they wouldn't even try to touch us, unless they had a way to like take our power.
Every time I think of that, and like no spoilers, but the final, like, you know, you do the job quest, you do the blue ones, and then at the end of it you get the just a regular yellow quest, the final paladin quest. I always think of that. If anybody knows what that one is, it's like you're going up against a guy and he just looks at you and goes like, oh, if I do this, I'm going under the ground. If I try to fight them, I'm done.
Yeah. Which is one thing they've done really good in the game, and I won't make this a big one, I'm just going to briefly address it. They did really good in the game. The longer the game went, they recognized how strong we're getting. They always did. Like, once quests got to a certain point, it's like, oh shit, you're no joke. I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I did like your read on Zoralja, and got me thinking some stuff too, in how he tries to be and surpass his father, and is also like him, like has the features of two different Mamulja, but unlike him, he only has the one head and can only embody one of the heads and so he lacks. And as he shows in his final form in the trial, he lacks the other head, you know.
Oh, yo, that's good. Yo, I like that. What?
Because he takes the form of a blessed one without a second head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just that stump.
But the thing I did want to mention, that I don't know if you touched it before I was here, but I do like how the kind of mirrors Wuklamat, because in many ways Wuklamat also had those expectations and those fears. But she, instead of like being stoic like her brother, was actually, she was more open and reached out to people, and that trust with other people is what marks the difference between them, right? Where she actually could express her frustrations, unlike her brother.
Yeah. Well,
she had other heads in that way, like Hona.
Yeah. Though to touch on that, because there is an interesting aspect of that as well, is just based on the difference between Wuklamat's and Zoralja's raising, which can only be implied, and you pick up little pieces here and there. But it sounded like Wuklamat had more nurturing in her upbringing.
Yeah.
Because she had a completely different personality that probably was more... I won't say needed it, but caused more interactions of that nature to happen, about insecurities and stuff, because, you know, being adopted and everything. And the way that they both talked about Gulul Jaja and the things that they recalled and the things that they treasured were completely opposite. Because Zoralja recognized Gulul Jaja's power and, you know, things of that nature, and was talked about being spurned, etc. And some of that resentment could have come from seeing Wuklamat getting love and nurturing and possibly gentler care, depending on how Zoralja himself was, and not necessarily how he was raised. Because if he was always someone who went to that soldier mindset from an early age, especially based on how the entire Mamulja race seems to be in that region, he could have just very much have been, I'm tough, I don't need this. I have to live up to the promised one, or all the names and prophecies that were around him. You know, people, I can't remember them all at the moment, but you recall how everyone in the story was towards him whenever it comes to that. So he may have just taken everything onto himself from far too early and felt himself spurned because of it. So it's.
That was the frog.
Discord made a really weird noise with it. I forgot that they were doing that holiday thing, and it just like That was jarring as hell.
Yeah, I have all my sound turned off, so
Yeah, it's weird. It's like a mix between Christmas and Halloween. It's super strange.
There's something I just thought of that I want to bring up with Zerilja.
Mhm.
When he comes back,
Wait.
during the first, oh sorry,
Wait, what are we talking about? Who?
or Zerilja.
Zaraja? Okay.
When he comes back during the first attack, when he fights the Dawn Servant, there's the whole line when he comes back is like, I didn't even think he would be alive.
Yeah.
Because of the 30 years. When he thought 30 years had passed in Darworld.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He thought, his dad would be dead. And did he also think that because of Wukamat and Kona's leadership that Tuliolal would be weaker and ripe for the taking? Because
Very likely.
after 30 years?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely think that was probably his outlook on that.
So it's interesting that he probably didn't even think he was going to fight his dad. And he still got his butt whipped.
Yeah, he did actually make kind of a comment of whenever he was saying that I thought you would be dead, he just said this was a small blessing or something to that effect. Like,
yeah,
there was like, oh, I'm going to like this. But at that point, and again, it's one of those things that we can only infer things unless they're going to give us things in further patches detailing what had actually happened in like Solution 9 over the course that Zaraja was there. But like, we'll never know his entire thought processes from that point, because it was a massive jump from seeing him broken, walking away from the shade of his father, to being in front of the gate with Cerealjah, then him stabbing the shit out of him, which was great. But like the personality swing is like, even though he was willing to betray and kill someone who was helping him the entire way, even if he knew that there was ulterior motives, like there was still this huge jump. But it is 30 years.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be able to cover that easy.
Yeah, I don't. Do you think they're gonna revisit that or show some more of that? Like, I would actually be okay if they didn't, to be honest. But
I think there is every bit a chance that we will, based on.
I guess if we get more,
what they did in 7.0, very end of 7.0, which is this entire discussion. I believe that we'll have more to do in Solution 9. I believe that we'll probably have more to do in Living Memory, because I believe there's probably something hidden there.
Yeah, and I think if Galul-Jah Jr. continues to be part of the story, then we'll probably get something there.
Yeah. But again, and I'm just going to reiterate here, just because we've been in conversation about the story for so long, this is only up to the end of 7.0. We talk about nothing else.
Oh yeah, I haven't done I haven't done 0.1 yet.
Yeah.
Was it good? Did you guys like it?
It was a little confusing. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I can like it. I am very excited where it left off.
Yeah.
I'm probably the most excited I have been for anything in Dawntrail from where it left off.
So it did the 7.1 thing of, where the hell is this going at the end?
Well, yeah, because we gotta get to the 0.3.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, every 0.1 patch seems like it has left off on a, where the hell are we going with this?
Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes back to the whole expectations for Dawntrail setting up the next grand arc. I mean, you know, part of me was also saying, okay, we have base Dawntrail, and then we have the patches, and in the patches, like, shit starts really getting real too, as we conclude what we just went through, and also officially, like, set up the next thing. So, I was just saying, likewise, I'm excited to see, you know, what the patches do. And hopefully, for as much as people dislike the 0.0, I hope maybe the patches can help, you know, consolidate and bring people back into the fold. I hope it's something that people truly enjoy, so. from a story perspective.
It'll either be 0.3 or 0.5 that'll do that for most people, I think.
Yeah.
Gameplay wise, we'll be getting more stuff, which isn't really the scope, but like once we start getting the field ops and stuff, we'll start seeing more people playing again more regularly. But story wise, it's either going to be how reception is towards wrapping up this story in 0.3, or what it starts pushing towards in 0.4 and 0.5 is what's going to change the overall opinion, I think, if it changes it.
Yeah. Also, I don't really have plans. Maybe I can mention it, but I didn't really have plans to. That'll be a different video talking about the non-story stuff, but mostly the fights, because I have been enjoying the fights. But yeah,
the fights have been great.
Yeah.
The dungeons, everything's been fantastic.
Yeah. Shoot, I was gonna say.
It's been nice to have content that's not afraid to kill us again.
I mean, as disappointing as Valley-Garmonda is, that fight's great. That trial's awesome.
You know, I didn't find Valley-Garmonda disappointing. I really didn't. Just because, like, I know that the general consensus of the community is, I would have rather have fought Valley-Garmonda at full strength. And you know what? More power to you. That's an opinion that people have, and that's fine. But looking at it from an aspect of the Warrior of Light and what's best for the world, if this creature that has done so much damage in the past has gotten out, is still in a weakened state, we're not pulling a Vegeta and go, please power up. We're hunting it down and killing it before it can kill other people. Right? Like, while it might be a disappointment of, oh, we didn't get to fight it at full power, but do we really need to prove ourselves after Insinger?
I mean, the whole full power thing, I think, is really a weird complaint, because what would that have really changed?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's weird.
We fought it at full power.
Yeah.
I mean, it would still be a fight. We're still... But I think that the biggest disappointment is... I think it would have been interesting to tie it in with the whole storm thing, because that storm was such a big part of the first... Of like, okay, even at its weakest point now, it conjured... And it was, it was frozen and ice. It somehow conjured this huge storm that almost capsized us, destroyed parts of the country. Like, that would have been cool. And that's the whole storm storyline was just kicked out.
What was the storm from? I thought that was Valley. What was the storm from?
It was from Valley-Garmonda's prison weakening.
Right. Okay, that's what that was.
Was it?
Yeah. So there it was.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
It was direct correlation that they had said that I'm pretty sure it was on the lead up to the Trial of Ice that it was talking about how the storms in the region were as a result of Valley-Garmonda's prison weakening, which is why the trials or the Rite of Succession took people through there to strengthen the prison.
Okay, I must have missed that part. I knew they were supposed to go through to strengthen the prison. I must have missed the part about the storms.
Yeah, believe me, it's one of those things that's probably easy enough to miss, just because, again, the pace was a little long and drawn out, so if you missed a few details there and there because your mind kind of had a little lapse, you spaced a little bit, like, that's understandable. Easy enough to miss. But yeah, it was directly related to Valley-Garmonda and his prison.
Yeah, I think I've heard that some of the player base was disappointed with Valley-Garmonda in general, but I guess I don't know. It's just the 90 what level was it? 93 trial.
Yeah, it was 93 trial.
Regardless if Valley-Garmonda was like fully powered up or not, it was always just going to be the 93 trial. So.
Well, yeah, it's just like Zodiac. Except
I mean,
good.
Yeah, the Zodiac thing that threw me off. But like with Valley-Garmonda, the thing is, it was still a really good fight. It still showed what power Valley-Garmonda had, even in a weakened state. So like it did a good enough job of especially lining up with the other thing we talked about with it being part of the storm and the stories behind it. It's like, okay, yeah, Valley-Garmonda is a real threat. So we cannot allow Valley-Garmonda to get out into the wider world. So from that aspect, I didn't feel Valley-Garmonda was a letdown or was that a weird part in the story, because you knew that they were going to give us the swerve, because they always give us the swerve. If Endwalker told me anything, you're going to get a swerve.
Yeah, now that I know about the storm, that my disappointment has lessened some.
Yeah, I should probably fact check that just to be sure, but I am like so highly certain that that was part of it.
I'm pretty sure it was something related to that.
Yeah, it very well could have been. I probably just missed reading it or something.
It's getting a little bit late here, but was there any other kind of specifics of just the right of succession in general that anyone wanted to touch upon?
I would say
The Pelu Pelu have mate. It's peak.
I think that I think for my biggest part, like as far as zones being weak or zones being strong, I guess that's probably a good enough part to kind of chip in on here. It's weird to me because I feel like Yoctel was both the weakest and strongest zone of the Rite of Succession part. Because didn't much care, like the cooking thing, I got it, it was fine, it was whatever. It felt like we were having a little bit of a break at that point, because I believe that was right after Valley Garmonda. I think, so I think we were having like, I think we were kind of having a falling in the action at that point, so we were getting a little break. But then I actually thought that once we got into the Mamuk area, that zone became extremely strong in learning more about Gulul Jaja and Bakul Jaja. Because like once we get to the cenote and learn what they did, like that is just such a huge reveal.
Yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite parts. I like I said, honestly, for me, you know, I enjoyed the first part of Dawntrail, but everything really picked up for me after, you know, visiting the Giants. That's when everything started to really be like, okay, like we're starting to get like serious about some stuff here, like you know.
That's when we were getting some better history and like the stakes were rising as far as the Rite of Succession goes.
Yeah. Everything.
We were a little. Go ahead.
I was gonna say like everything kind of up to that point was, you know, learning about cultures, do some slice of life stuff, you know, learn how to trade and ride llamas and stuff.
It was kind of the first time that there was like a impactful part of the story that didn't involve any of the group.
Yeah,
it involved other people and like Bakul Jaja and the Mamulja, and it was like, okay, now we're doing something that does not directly affect us. We're having to kind of deal with and come to terms with.
Yeah, it's one of those things that gave you more insight into characters without it slapping you in the face with exposition about it. Oh, this is why Gulul Jaja is this way. This is why Zeralja has this attitude. This is why Bakul Jaja is a giant jackass right now. It was this entire thing of just being like, this is their history. This is what their culture is about. And seeing how serious they were, especially Bakul Jaja's father, and then seeing his mother in like the entire lead up through that zone to the dungeon, it is just giving you everything you need to know without telling you how to feel. Without explicitly saying how it affected each of those three characters, except for Bakul Jaja, but because he was directly involved at that place and time. Like, we do not know how Gulul Jaja, and we will never know how he felt, how he was raised, or how other people looked at him, other than he was the blessed one and was wildly amazing. Just great.
And kind of why, as Dawn Servant, he didn't put a stop to it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions surrounding it still. But it could just be the fact that, again, Gulul Jaja just respected all the cultures and did nothing to change do with Tuliolol. Like, there were a few there, and they mostly kept to their own culture up to that point.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, I do believe that Yoctel is really the zone. That it takes you through a real low part in the action up into understanding kind of the foundations of where the rest of the expansion or the 0.0 story was going to go, because it gives you the foundation of like the major characters going forward, other than Sphene.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Cool. Yeah, I guess we covered a lot. Covered quite a bit. There's still the back half of Dawntrail that we can talk about the next time, which would probably be like on a Wednesday or Thursday next week. I would guess maybe a Thursday again, something like that.
Yeah,
take some time to stew on this stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of good points brought up here. Very insightful. So I wish I organized this better, but I have the recording for reference. The way I would present, like, I have my own opinions and stuff. The way I would present your guys' opinions, as in a general sense, would be, you know, my community perspective. I don't know if you guys have a preference for how I reference you. I'm definitely not like gonna try to take your ideas as for my own. So I don't know if you have any.
You mean like how you're presenting, like where the opinions came from? I mean, it's however you feel you need to.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned.
Because I mean, at this point, I think if you read through that, you probably have a hard time remembering who said what.
Well, yeah, yeah, exactly. That's why I said I wish I organized it better. But I do have the recordings to go off of, and I think I can
like
kind of remember based off of what I wrote.
Yeah, I would say it depends on your workflow. If it would cause you a lot of effort, just be like, this was a discussion with the community. You don't have to say, Kaya said this, or Ashua said this in the chat, you know, yada, yada, yada. You can just be like, you know, this was my community's thoughts or whatever.
Yeah.
It would be a lot of work for me to go back and dig.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
like every word that came from me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do I need a No, I wasn't planning on referencing every single thing. I when I get into the nitty gritty of the editing, I'll have to figure out the best way to present it. I just want you guys to know that I'm not trying to steal your thoughts as my own.
Yeah, you're good.
We get it.
Yeah.
Also, next Wednesday is Christmas, so.
Oh shit! I forgot. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it means we're not going to be able to be here. We're going to have to be doing the savage, chaotic 24-man instead.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That comes out on Christmas.
Oh crap! And the 26th, Squid Game season 2 comes out. I'll be busy that day.
Oh yeah. Okay, maybe before then. Maybe on the weekend.
Yeah.
Not a huge rush.
Most time, if I'm awake at night, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be very busy this weekend, considering
I'll
my
be doing
family is
nothing.
coming and stuff.
Okay.
I will be trying to figure out why my computer's not working right.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I'll be here.
But okay, I appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing your opinions, not being shy to share.
Thank you for putting up with my Indles gabbing.
No, it was good. You brought a lot of perspective, so I also like to let people who like to talk a lot. That's just one of my things, so
I'm not a person who likes to talk a lot. This just happens to be one of those things that I can talk about.
Yeah, no, I get it. I was kind of quoting Jackie Chan from Rush Hour in a way for that, but
you know what? That's fair. That is fair.
but I also like to let people who like to talk, do your thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see what I can make out of this mess, and there's more to discuss about the second half. So yeah, just get ready for that. Tomorrow is Friday. Who will be here for Forest Friday?
I'll be here for Forest Friday, or if it turns into Helldivers 2 Friday, or if it turns into Deep Rock Galactic Friday, or if it's everything falls through and it's Hades Friday. I'll be around.
Okay.
I don't play any of those except 14, but I'll be somewhere watching probably.
Now will you be here or?
Nope, I'll be doing stuff with I have stuff to do at night, and then I have something very early in the morning, so I'll have to sleep through.
Okay. We'll have to figure something out then.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Y'all have a good night.
You as well. Have a good night, sir.
Night.
Good night, everybody.
Yes. Good night, everybody.
Cool. Beans. Alright. Lots of good stuff to talk about there. Yeah, we'll need a part 2. Good discussions all around. Yeah, I decided to make a video. I haven't made a video like this in a while. Yeah, just thoughts and opinions. So, nothing crazy. No fancy editing. Maybe some B-roll here and there. Maybe I'll film some scenes as Wuklamat or Galul Shah Jr. or whatever as needed. It should be nice. Little change of pace, little different style while we continue working on the PvP. And yeah. I'm gonna go to bed. Y'all enjoy your Friday. Good luck. And holidays are approaching. We didn't do the marble thing today, but perhaps the next time. Kind of forgot. We're so wrapped in discussion. Good night. Bye-bye.